Chapter 1864. Dragon Race, Dragon Realm. The 5 divine dragons had returned to the deepest part of the dragon realm. The dragon kings, first elder, and other dragon race experts were in charge of mobilizing the army to recuperate. There was no need for them to worry. At a peak, the 5 divine dragons were in seclusion in their own planes. It's been a long time since we last met. The scenery of the dragon realm is so beautiful. Hey, divine dragons, it's been a long time since we last met. How did you all become more handsome? A voice transmission broke the silence. Imperial God Dragon opened his eyes from his seclusion. His dragon eyes were filled with dragon chi, and his expression changed slightly. Lin Chun. He actually went to the dragon race personally. It seemed that things were not simple. Imperial God Dragon stepped on a golden dragon chi and appeared in the dragon realm. He looked at Lin Chun, who was standing on the peak of the mountain, and squeezed out a smile. Little friend Lin Chun, you've recovered from your injuries so quickly. It's worthy of celebration. Imperial God Dragon congratulated. Lin Chun narrowed his eyes and smiled innocently. Yes, I have always been known for my endurance. How can these small injuries affect me? Today, I'm here to fulfill my promise to the dragon race. Divine dragons, come out and talk. Imperial God Dragon's heart shook. He smiled happily and said, Lin Chun, you mean? Lin Chun smiled and said, once a word is spoken, it's hard to take it back. Look at my character. Would I lie to you? As soon as he said that, 4 divine dragon auras appeared. The ancient desolate azure dragon was the last to appear. When he looked at Lin Chun, he was slightly wary. The atmosphere among the 5 divine dragons was a little strange. The extreme hell water divine dragon, who was wearing an azure palace dress, smiled sweetly. Your Excellency Lin Chun, we're not in a hurry to pay you. It's best that you adjust your condition first. Lin Chun smiled and cupped his fists. Thank you for your concern, Senior. I'll talk to the extreme hell water dragon race in a few days and invite you to become the guardian dragons of the Ice Heart Palace. It's a win-win situation for both sides. The beautiful woman beamed. Then I'll thank you in advance for helping the little fellows in the clan. Lin Chun changed the topic. I, Lin Chun, have always repaid kindness with kindness and revenge with revenge. I have never mistreated my friends or my loyal followers. Towards those who threaten me, I've always been tough to the end and have never been soft-hearted. All the divine dragons were stunned. Lin Chun flicked his finger, and a beam of elemental light shot into the extreme hell water divine dragon's forehead. Buzz! Space rippled as the extreme hell water divine dragon's pure draconic might skyrocketed. Host has activated attribute transfer function, transferring and strengthening attributes to a specific divine dragon target. Bloodline +1 successful. Consumed 3,000 saint-level heavenly path points, 40,000 advanced strengthening points. To strengthen the bloodline of the divine dragon, Lin Chun had to spend 3,000 saint-grade heavenly Tao points and 40,000 high-grade strengthening points. That was equivalent to 300 billion heavenly Tao points and 4 trillion intermediate strengthening points. To the Lin Chun before the battle, this number would basically deplete all his attribute points. But to the current him, it was a piece of cake. The extreme hell water divine dragon's eyes glowed as she exclaimed, My divine dragon bloodline has improved. The expressions of the mystical dragons changed abruptly as they turned pale with fright. They could feel that the extreme hell water divine dragon's bloodline quality had improved by 10%, and her potential had increased. Bloodline quality was like a container, while strength was like the water in the container. The bigger the container, the more water it could hold. The extreme hell water divine dragon's container was almost filled to the brim with water. Now that the container had expanded, her cultivation could take another step forward. Lin Chun smiled. I've said it before. I won't mistreat my friends. Before the divine dragons could rejoice, they saw Lin Chun's figure appear beside Lin Can. Their expressions changed slightly. Lin Can smiled mockingly. But my big brother is not so polite to his enemies. As soon as he said that, Lin Chun's gaze locked onto the ancient azure dragon. The latter's expression changed slightly, and his scalp went numb. Ancient Azure Dragon, I've let bygones be bygones when your clone attacked me after I entered the Divine Dragon Ruins. I could even help you improve your bloodline if you helped the human race. Lin Shen's gaze darkened. But you're up to no good. I've already given the dragon race a chance, and you still dare to target the human race. Rumble. The sky in the dragon world shook violently, and Lin Shen's aura skyrocketed. The ancient Azure Dragon's eyes flashed with malice. He hurriedly said, Lin Shen, there's a misunderstanding between us. I didn't attack you or your people, did I? You've only misinterpreted my words. Yu Tian and the rest can testify that we didn't mean to threaten you. I helped the human race and blocked the demon emperor and the honorable elders of the demonic tribe for you. You're burning the bridge after crossing it. At this moment, Imperial God Dragon was about to speak. Lin Shen sneered. What if I wait for you, old bastard, to make a move? Damn it, do you think it's my first day out here? Imperial God Dragon was about to step forward to make peace, but the extreme hell water divine dragon raised a hand to stop him. I advise you not to act rashly. If you make the wrong choice again, the problem won't be that simple. Imperial God Dragon's eyes flickered, and he sighed in the end. Rumble. Seeing that there was no room for negotiation, and seeing Lin Shen's murderous intent skyrocketing, the ancient Azure Dragon made a preemptive strike. Dragon breath storm shot out from his finger, and countless storm-rending blades wrapped around it, aiming at Lin Shen. Scorching flames surged in his palm, and 9 swirling fire dragons surrounded it. Lin Shen struck toward the sky. 9 extinction, sky, burning palm. The 9 swirling fire dragons collided with the ancient Azure Dragon's divine dragon-rending blades, shaking the sky of the dragon world. Bang! Bang! The 4 divine dragons all avoided the center of the explosion. Lin Shen and the ancient Azure Dragon took 4 steps back. Were they evenly matched? No, the ancient Azure Dragon's scales were slightly burned, but Lin Shen was unscathed, and his breathing was steady. Your strength. The ancient Azure Dragon's eyes narrowed. This guy's strength had skyrocketed. After that battle, he had recovered from his injuries at a godly speed. The ancient Azure Dragon was knowledgeable, so he was not surprised. But how could his strength have increased by leaps and bounds? Recovering from injuries and skyrocketing strength were 2 completely different things. Based on the battle in the extraterrestrial battlefield, he could fight against the gods only because of various external forces and trump cards. But now, he did not use any of those methods at all. He had used his own strength to defeat a divine dragon of his generation. With my strength, isn't it normal for me to beat you up? I haven't even used my instant light split shadows talent yet. Lin Shen smiled casually. Stepping on the clouds, he flew into the sky in a flash. This time, he was truly moving at godly speed. With Lin Shen's current foundation, his movement technique was not inferior to the God Slayer state when he went all out. Azure Dragon inhales aura. The ancient Azure Dragon used his dragon aura to protect his body. A sword gleam flashed, and his dragon claws appeared. In an instant, he clawed at Lin Shen's heaven-splitting sword style. Chi! The sword gleam forced the Azure Dragon's claws back and cut through his dragon aura. Lin Shen was not afraid of the ancient Azure Dragon at all. Move after move, his attacks were endless and boundless. The pressure was overwhelming. Lin Shen completely treated the ancient Azure Dragon as a sparring partner after breaking through to the next cultivation level to hone his moves. Chapter 1865. The primordial Azure Dragon could not withstand Lin Shen's ferocious attacks in its human form. Seeing how ferocious Lin Shen's attacks were, the primordial Azure Dragon had no intention of negotiating. The dragon aura in its body surged, and streaks of dragon aura shot out. Boom! 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 A dragon's roar shook the heavens, and the dragon god shone brightly. When the primordial Azure Dragon revealed its true form, its scales and feathers covered the entire sky of the dragon realm. The primordial azure dragon revealed its true form to fight Lin Shun. Lin Shun smiled. That's how it should be. Reveal your true form. Otherwise, it won't be fun. The primordial azure dragon sneered. I don't believe that you can use that divine armor again after the great battle of the gods. Lin Shun said, stop flattering yourself. Do I need to use the war god armor to deal with you? One man and one dragon. The battle became even more intense. The primordial azure dragon frantically blocked Lin Chen's attacks. When Lin Shun used his instant light, Shadow's talent, all his attacks were split into 5, and the primordial azure dragon was instantly at a disadvantage. If Lin Shun did not use instant light, Shadows, it would be fine. The primordial azure dragon could still use its dragon god armor and its powerful dragon god body to fight with him for a while. However, once instant light, Shadows was used, its combat power skyrocketed, and a sense of oppression descended. This was one of Lin Chen's killer moves that he dared to use against multiple demon emperors. The primordial azure dragon could not withstand it at all. Imperial, we are both primordial azure dragons. Why are you so indifferent? Are you really willing to bow down to this human? The primordial azure dragon roared. The imperial divine dragon was calm, but there was a hint of struggle in the depths of his eyes. The primordial azure dragon saw that the situation was not good and cursed. F***CK, forget it. Forget it. I won't fight with you. I can't beat you. Do you think you can stop me? The desolate antiquity azure dragon roared at the sky. As the dragon's roar reverberated, numerous desolate antiquity dragon tombs rose up outside the dragon world. Countless ancient dragon phantoms reverberated in the void. Lin Chun instantly felt an unprecedented sense of oppression. He even sensed a familiar aura. It was the draconic aura of the ancient Taishi dragon and the ancient Aeon dragon. The extreme hell water divine dragon frowned. This guy activated the celestial dragon realm without permission. All Fire Shenlong immediately turned to Royal God Dragon and asked in shock, "Why didn't you stop him?" Imperial Divine Dragon fell silent for a moment before saying, "My bottom line is that I can choose not to help the Blue Dragon, but I can't stop the Divine Dragon of my clan from wanting to live." The sacred boundary of the human race was protected by the myriad manifestations of gods. The Dragon Realm naturally had a natural protective barrier, the Heavenly Dragon Barrier. The Heavenly Dragon Barrier was a protective barrier that generations of divine dragons and ancient dragons had left behind with a trace of their power. In terms of overall power, its foundation was in no way inferior to the human race's myriad manifestations of gods. Every mystical dragon had absolute control over the Heavenly Dragon Barrier. Bang! 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 Streaks of ancient dragon aura came crashing down like giant dragons falling from the sky, crashing into Lin Shen's attack. Not only was Lin Shen unable to break out of the encirclement to chase after the ancient dragon, but he was also pushed back, especially the ancient Aeon dragon's draconic aura, which was simply unpredictable. It crossed time and space to hit Lin Shen. There was no trace of it at all. The ancient Taishi dragon's draconic aura was indestructible. Lin Shun had to use all his strength to divert its attack trajectory. Is this how Yao dealt with the human race's myriad manifestations of gods when she was at her peak? That's amazing. Looks like my cultivation base and combat strength can't compare to Yao at her peak. Lin Shun looked around. The majestic ancient dragon had completely flown out of the dragon realm and was about to fly to another galaxy. Failure seemed to be a foregone conclusion. Use the 9 Tribulation Star? Even if it penetrates the Heavenly Dragon Barrier, its power will be greatly reduced. I might not be able to kill it. Use Annihilation. Starburst, the range is too big. It will affect the other dragons in the Dragon Realm. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. There was no way he would let the ancient dragon go. Lin Chen never showed mercy to his enemies. If this fellow dared to have any ill intentions, he would destroy it. A divine dragon's breath could wipe out all the living beings in the sacred boundary. A divine dragon with an unknown background was too big of a threat. Since Lin Shun had made his move, he had to eliminate the source of the problem. Let's try the new godhead. After binding it, I'll use the 9 Tribulations star to blast it. A dark light circulated in Lin Shen's palm, and the godhead shard flashed. Lin Shun used his movement technique to dodge the heavenly dragon barrier's attack. He aimed his palm at the ancient desolate azure dragon and clenched it. Buzz. The distant space-time instantly exploded. The 4 divine dragons felt their scalps go numb. A terrifying pressure came from above the 9 heavens. A gigantic pitch-black barrier suddenly appeared in the galaxy outside the dragon realm. It was in the shape of a cube and instantly enveloped the ancient dragon. Consumed 19,000 Saint Heavenly Tao points to activate Godhead, divine creation. What is this? The ancient dragon was bewildered. Rumble. Chi. Inside the pitch-black cube, space-time instantly collapsed. The terrifying gravity distorted the dimensions and compressed space-time. The ancient dragon's body instantly crumbled. Its dragon scale shattered, its flesh was crushed, and its divine blood splattered everywhere. Rumble. The cube enchantment that was shrouded in a dark brilliance suddenly shrank and became smaller. The ancient dragon's body was instantly crushed into a ball and shrunk by hundreds of thousands of times. It was crushed alive and became a pile of flesh and blood in the blink of an eye. After the pitch-black barrier shrunk and crushed the ancient dragon, it slowly disappeared, leaving behind a ball of elemental light. The 4 divine dragons gasped in horror. A cold glint shot straight to the top of their heads. The primordial azure dragon didn't even have the chance to scream before it perished. Even Lin Qin was dumbfounded. Dead? A divine dragon of a generation died, just like that? F***CKme. This new godhead. It's 2F***King powerful. Lin Shun had planned to use this move to delay or exhaust the ancient dragon before releasing the 9 Tribulations star to break through the heavenly dragon barrier and try to end its life. He did not expect to crush the ancient dragon with one move. Not crushed to death, but crushed to pieces. These were 2 completely different concepts. The latter was to completely destroy the divine dragon's defenses. It was much more difficult than killing the divine dragon himself. The divine dragon's body spanned the heavens and earth. Just one dragon scale alone was the size of a small continent. The divine dragon's body could be said to be the life form with the strongest vitality and tenacity. The power of the Godhead, divine creation fragment, was enough to crush a divine dragon's body. He actually has another killer move. The All Flames divine dragon's eyes trembled in fear. Her respect and fear for Lin Chun went up another level. This young man was like a bottomless pit with endless tricks up his sleeves. At this moment, Imperial Divine Dragon waved his hand and removed the heavenly dragon barrier. He cupped his fists at Lin Shun and said seriously, Lin Shun, I can't help the human race fight against the divine dragons of my race. This is my bottom line. Now that the primordial azure dragon has perished in your hands, it is true that I am a little shaken by his suggestion. He took a deep breath and looked straight at Lin Shun as if he had made a major decision. So, if you want to eliminate us, we can only fight. Chapter 1866. Although it was said to be a battle, the heavenly dragon barrier had already been removed. Imperial God Dragon seemed to be able to see through the essence of things. Lin Shun did not answer immediately. Instead, he flicked his finger, and his attributes flashed. Boom, boom, boom. Apart from the water divine dragon, the remaining 3 divine dragons' bloodline auras skyrocketed. This is... Imperial God Dragon was shocked. Lin Shun smiled casually. I've said that I never mistreat my friends. I'll take responsibility for my own actions. I won't hold the descendants of the ancient azure dragon accountable, even if they hate me. You should know my position, Lin Shun. I have no intention of being the overlord of this world. The dragon race will exist forever. Do whatever you want. As long as you don't challenge my bottom line, I'm not interested in interfering with your affairs. Imperial God Dragon took a deep breath. Thank you for your magnanimity. The Extreme Hell Water Divine Dragon said seriously, Don't worry, Your Excellency Lin Shun. I'll keep an eye on the ancient Azure Dragon race for you. I won't let them endanger the sacred boundary. Lin Shun gave her a thumbs up and smiled. Let's go. Lin Shun stepped into the air and left with Lin Can. He also took the numerous attribute light balls dropped by the ancient Azure Dragon along the way. Obtained 400 million high-tier Saint-tier blood essence, 300,000 high-tier Saint-tier Earth-type energy, 1,290 Saint-tier heavenly path points. A large amount of blood essence attributes flowed into the Dragon King and Lin Chen's bodies, who were cultivating in seclusion. Their body-tempering strength rose again. Lin Chen was calm and collected. He tore through the void and advanced while absorbing the attributes. Lin Chen said, I can, bring me to a place. Without another word, Lin Can brought Lin Shun to the destination at full speed. In a demonic chi vortex in the desolate demon world. This was the place where Lin Shun had condensed his acupoints and broken through consecutively. Back then, she was still here with Lin Shun. If not for her, Lin Shun might not have been able to escape. Thinking about the girl's departure, Lin Shen's heart ached and he sighed. Even if I have the strength of a god, I can't let the person I treasure return to my side. Lin Shen's eyes fell on the center of the demonic energy vortex. There was a pitch-black space vortex there. It was very deep, in a state of infinite distortion like a black hole. In fact, it was even more terrifying than an ordinary space-time black hole. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes. For pieces of scarlet silk flashed in his hand. Crimson Divine 7 Damask. This item was something that the mysterious Lin Xingchen had been searching for, and it had reacted to this place. Previously, when his acupoint exploded, Lin Shun had already sensed a reaction from the Scarlet God Damask. Perhaps the thing hidden in the darkness had something to do with the Scarlet Divine Damask. It was even related to the War of the 9 Clans. Perhaps the answer to the Scarlet God Damask lies within that black hole. Lin Shun frowned. However, even with his current strength, Lin Shun was not confident that he could withstand the tidal force of the space-time black hole. He could faintly sense that his life would be in danger if he entered rashly. If he barged in, he would most likely die. Otherwise, if the War of the 9 Clans could be solved by brute force, why would there be so many godly state warriors fighting? There were more godly state warriors back then. If they could force their way in, they would have joined forces to do so. Even though Lin Chen's strength had skyrocketed, he had not reached the point where he could beat all the godly state warriors back then. Unless I can wear the Aries set, there is no way I can force my way in. The Aries set's energy had been used up. Not to mention that Lin Chen's current physique had not reached 100 million honorable power. Even if he had 100 million honorable power, he would still need to recharge before he could use it. After arriving here and taking a look, Lin Shun gave up on the thought in his heart. Lincoln was puzzled. Big brother? Lin Shun smiled. Let's go back to the sacred boundary. It was not the time to touch on this secret. At least, he did not have the strength to eat it yet. Sooner or later, Lin Shun would come back and reveal the final secret of the War of the 9 Clans. As soon as Lin Shun returned to the sacred boundary, Bai Ruoyan transmitted a message to Lin Shun. Luo Yao wanted to see him the same place. Strange Domain's border. Lin Shun came to the wooden house. Luo Yao stood in front of the cliff. Today, she was wearing a black dress. As her black hair swayed, she was as quiet as a rose in the night, waiting for Lin Shun. Both her injuries and her cultivation base had completely recovered. Lin Shun rushed up the cliff. Before he could say anything, Luo Yao spoke first. One of the human clan's gods, the Golden God, his biological brother, Golden Feather God, was a genius of the human clan. After becoming a god, he wanted to create a subsidiary race of the human clan to fight against the naturally powerful demon clan. Then there was our demon clan. Lin Shun was stunned. He found that Luo Yao's brows were sad. Luo Yao smiled sadly. Golden Feather God created the demon clan, but the human clan never ended the demon clan. He even fell in love with my clan's ancestors, but abandoned the demon clan in the War of the Nine Clans, joined the War of the Nine Clans, and finally died in the starry sky. After losing the protection of a true god, the demon clan became the most competitive clan in the human clan, and was once wandering in the midst of destruction. And Golden Feather God never thought of guiding the demon clan on their own path. The human clan only brought us hatred. The demon clan's ancestors, after going through thousands of difficulties, brought the demon clan out of the human clan's jurisdiction. After that, the demon clan and the human clan continued to kill and hate each other. As the empress who was chosen to be the leader of the demon clan, my hands were stained with the blood of innocent humans. I don't care about that. Lin Shan interrupted Luo Yao, and rushed forward to hug her. It's all in the past, okay? Lin Shan said softly. Luo Yao, raised her charming face. Lin Chen's heart tightened. Do you know, after I recover my memories with you, the people I killed flash through my mind all the time. Lin Shan said in a deep voice. That's because you were affected by the will of the ancestor. Luo Yao shook her head and said softly, what about the matters of the mortal world? I broke through the holy prison, and that was my own initiative. You should be very clear about how many criminals from the holy prison have flowed to the mortal world. Lin Chen's mind trembled. He had personally witnessed how the criminals of the holy prison had ravaged the 9 regions. If it wasn't for him, Ning Qingxian would also be one of the victims. After experiencing torture that was worse than death, she would be tortured until she died and turned into a statue. And before Ning Qingxian, there were already countless proud daughters of heaven in the 9 regions who had suffered this calamity. The pain, suffering, sadness, and anger before their deaths. Lin Shun could feel the suffocating despair through the statue. If a criminal from the holy prison were to enter a mortal world, how much damage would it cause to the mortal world? It was enough to endanger trillions of mortals. Countless people of the human race would lose their lives that should have belonged to them. Lin Shun hugged her even tighter, and his eyes were bloodshot. I don't care. If we're talking about killing people, the number of enemies I've killed is not small. If anyone in this world wants to punish you, I'll be the first to kill them. Suddenly, Lin Shun realized that Luo Yao's body was especially cold. It wasn't the coldness of the temperature, but the coldness of the lack of vitality. Lin Chen's mouth trembled. Luo Yao caressed his face, and her smile was beautiful and determined. How can I be at ease with my sins? Chapter 1867. My demonic heart and true body are already elsewhere. Boom! Monstrous anger soared into the sky, and the winds and clouds in the sacred boundary instantly changed. Lin Shun grabbed Luo Yao and glared at her. What are you doing? I won't allow you to do anything that endangers your life. Luo Yao shook her head and held Lin Chen's hand. With a flick of her finger, space distorted, and Luo Yao gradually turned transparent. Luo Yao held Lin Chen's hand and entered the distorted space. When the two of them appeared again, Lin Shun sensed that he had entered a brand new plane. This was a place he had never been to before. Under the starry sky, illusory white fog filled the air. Lin Chen's cultivation and primordial spirit seemed to be sealed here, and he couldn't use them. Luo Yao said softly, "This is the boundary of the universe outside the divine river star field. It's one of the few divine powers that connects to the four-dimensional universe. It's one of the unshakable places in this universe. The ancestors of the demonic tribe had once explored this area." She pointed into the distance. At the end of the white fog was a huge stone tablet that connected heaven and earth. It reached the 9 heavens, and one couldn't see the end. Lin Shun vaguely saw the words on the stone tablet, Reincarnation Tablet. Luo Yao's figure became more and more illusory. All living beings will eventually enter the cycle of reincarnation. Even gods can't break it. All living things that have died will be guided here by the four-dimensional godly power before they reincarnate. After saying that, she pointed to the reincarnation tablet in the barrier. A figure knelt in front of the reincarnation tablet. It was Luo Yao Er's true body. Her black hair was like a waterfall as she knelt in front of the reincarnation tablet. Her fingers were interlocked, and her eyes were tightly shut. Wisps of light flew out of Luo Yao Er's delicate body and merged into the reincarnation tablet. What? Lin Shen rushed out of the barrier and looked at Luo Yao, his heart palpitating. Lin Shen could feel that the light that was being extracted was the light of her life. It was extremely slow, but he could clearly sense that her life was weakening. There would be a day when it would all flow away. It turned out that the reason why Luo Yao who had returned to the Devil tribe after the great battle of the gods, was to use her own cultivation and life to enter this place. Lin Shen was instantly filled with regret. Why didn't he realize it earlier and stop her earlier? Luo Yao, who was beside Lin Shen, smiled sweetly. A sage of the demon-human race found a way to enter the reincarnation heavenly steel. As long as a god enters the barrier, the reincarnation heavenly steel will automatically absorb the life force of the god. I will repent for my sins with my life. The humans who died because of me and the humans who lost their lives because of the war with the demon tribe will obtain my life force from the reincarnation tablet. After reincarnation, they will become geniuses with excellent luck and obtain a different life. This is the only way I can atone for my sins. Luo Yao cupped his cheeks. It's so great to have met you. No. Lin Shen glared at her, his eyes looking as if he wanted to devour her. This was the first time Luo Yao had seen him like this. If you do this, you will most likely lose your life. You want me to watch from the sidelines. This is countless times worse than killing me. Luo Yao said softly, if I really lose my life in the end, it proves that my sins are grave. Lin Shen grabbed her cold jade hand and shouted coldly, no one can judge you. If you insist on committing suicide, then I will break this cycle. Fool! Wouldn't this be an imbalance in the cycle of reincarnation? How can there be any laws of heaven and earth? Luo Yao Er's consciousness gradually became transparent and dissipated. Remember to wait for me. Wait for me to wash away my sins. When I can be with you with a clear conscience, I will make up for these 10,000 years of longing. No, Yao. Lin Shen burst out a hysterical cry. Luo Yao Er's figure flew into the sky. Only the main body that was silent in the reincarnation, heavenly steel, gradually offered its life force. Lin Shen stood in place with a dull gaze, as if a large piece of his heart was empty. After an unknown period of time, Lin Shen clenched his fists and turned to look at the reincarnation heavenly steel. I won't let you do such a stupid thing. This thing can seal my cultivation, but it can't seal my ability. If the runes don't work, then I will use the divine core. If the divine core doesn't work, then I will use everything I have. If the cycle of reincarnation was broken, then the three-dimensional universe would be forever imbalanced, and no new humans would descend. System, can I use my talent here? System replies, yes, you can. However, it is limited to the talent that the host can use in the three-dimensional universe. There is four-dimensional divine power in the barrier, so some talents cannot be used in the fourth dimension. Can I use it to bring her into the hyperspace? Talent cannot be used. What about fulgurating shadows? Put me in, I will replace her. Talent cannot be used. Bang! Lin Shen punched the barrier, and the anger in his eyes grew stronger. Then I will wait for the divine core to recover and flatten this place. Brother Lin Shen, a cold and pleasant voice interrupted Lin Shen's anger. A beautiful white-clothed figure bathed in milky white holy fire descended. She was as beautiful as a fairy and peerless in her generation. Lin Shen was shocked. Sister Ruoyan. Byra Oyan held his hand and said gently, don't be angry. Respect her choice, okay? I can't just stand by and watch. No, you can't. Byra Oyan hugged him. I don't want you to stand by and watch. I want you to rest. Lin Shun was stunned. Bairuoyan comforted Lin Shun with a gentle voice. Even if you can break the reincarnation heavenly steel, will she really be willing to go with you? If you break the cycle, you will only make her live forever with self-blame. Do you want her to live like this? If you do this, won't you be torturing her? Sister Lin Chen's anger gradually subsided. Was breaking the reincarnation heavenly steel really what Yao wanted? Luo Yao didn't directly tell Lin Shun. She left the decision to Lin Shun. But I can't put Yao Er's life in this unknown. What if her life? You are afraid something will happen to her, right? Bairuoyan voiced Lin Chen's concern. This was the first time Lin Shun was at a loss. Sister Oyan, what should I do? Should he respect the choice of his loved one? Or should he satisfy his own selfish desires and find a way to break the reincarnation heavenly steel? Bairuoyan smiled sweetly. She raised her slender finger and flicked Lin Chen's forehead. The fairy smiled. What did you become so stupid? Or do you like her so much that your usually cunning brain has become dull? Little thief? Lin Shun stared blankly. The fairy said, why don't you just go and become stronger? Become strong enough to easily change the reincarnation heavenly steel, become strong enough to control the world's reincarnation. At that time, if you want to atone for her sins and protect her, won't it be easy? Boom! Lin Chen's mind was suddenly enlightened. Truly, cunning for a lifetime, foolish for a moment. Why didn't he think of this? Lin Chun clapped his hands in praise. Damn, why didn't I think of this? Enough, I'm going to the God realm in a moment. The fairy knocked his head. Are you crazy? How long has it been quiet? You're messing around again. Bairuoyan looked at Luo Yao inside the reincarnation heavenly steel. Through the eternal sacred flame. At the rate her life is fading away, her life won't be in danger for at least 10,000 years. You can make all the necessary preparations before heading to the God realm. Also, everyone is still waiting for you to fulfill your promise. Fulfill my promise? Lin Chin stared blankly. Are you still going to marry her? The fairy glanced at him. Yes. Chapter 1868. Before leaving, Lin Chin looked at Luo Yao in the reincarnation steel. Yao I respect your choice, but I promise I won't let you fall into any danger. Seeing that Lin Chin was once again full of energy, Bairuoyan let out a sigh of relief. She looked at the reincarnation steel and the barrier in Luo Yao's figure. I fulfill my promise to you, so please don't let anything happen to you. Bairuoyan and Luo Yao had made a promise. What Bairuoyan didn't tell Lin Chin was that Luo Yao could control the speed of her life to save more people. She also didn't tell him that she could bring Lin Chin into the reincarnation steel with the eternal sacred flame. The eternal sacred flame created all things and could see through life and death. It could also enter the reincarnation steel. However, she promised Luo Yao that she wouldn't tell Lin Chin about this. Taking Luo Yao away from the reincarnation steel would only make her live with guilt and self-blame forever. I fulfilled my promise to you to take care of Lin Chin, so please fulfill your promise to me. Don't let little brother Lin Chin lose his mind and fall into madness because of you. Bairuoyan used the eternal sacred flame to send a message into the reincarnation steel. Luo Yao's eyebrows twitched as if she heard her voice. When Bairuoyan left with Lin Chin, the reincarnation steel returned to its eternal silence, as if it had always been like this. The only difference was that there was an additional figure of repentance. After that, a year passed in the blink of an eye. In a year, the sacred boundary was reborn. First, two super sects appeared in the sacred boundary, the Divine Flame Palace and the Ice Heart Palace. The two super existences that were above the 9th grade sects not only worked together with the demon tribe to build a peaceful area as the leading force, but also worked together with the experts of the dragon tribe and a group of auspicious beasts. Their foundation was so strong that it was simply heaven-defying. These two sects had become the true overlords of the human race. Next, the Blacksmith Guild reopened. In the past, when the gods ruled, The blacksmith guild was suppressed, and everything related to the forging and creation of divine weapons was forbidden. It was very simple. A divine artifact that was forged would have the power to resist the gods. Once a divine artifact had recognized a master, it would be very difficult to change its master unless the previous master erased the imprint. Thus, the gods wanted to eliminate all elements that could resist the gods. After the start of the new era, the new order of the sacred boundary would be established. Not only would it not suppress the blacksmiths, but it would also greatly develop them. Due to Lin Chen's earlier frenzied attempt to break down sacred artifacts, the sacred boundary was in a state of extreme lack of sacred artifacts. The status of a weapon forging master rose along with the tide, even surpassing that of an alchemist. Secondly, there was a change in the genius rankings. After gaining providence, the living beings began to show great potential, and geniuses appeared in large numbers. The number of names on the genius ranking had increased from 100,000 to 200,000. Furthermore, the number of spots would continue to increase in the future. The influence of providence would have a profound impact on the human race. When providence belonged to all living beings, the seeds of the plan of providence increased, and the resources produced by the plan of providence were simply outrageous. It was only after defeating the gods that the plan of providence could produce so many resources. The resources produced by each plan of providence were at least 10 times that of the era of the gods. One could imagine that just the abundant resources alone would be enough to create countless geniuses. In the future, the human race would enter an unprecedented period of rapid development. Lin Chen's stories and legends were circulating in the sacred boundary. There were merits and faults, praise and criticism. The Ice Heart Palace and Divine Flame Palace did not suppress these rumors. Whether they were right or wrong would be left to future generations to judge. The battle between the demon race and the human race continued, but this time, it was the human race that started to attack the demon race. The upper echelons of the dragon race and the human race had reached a peace agreement, but it was limited to the Dragon King and Saint King level powerhouses. The upper echelons would not interfere with the grievances of the lower echelons. 1 year in the sacred boundary was 1 month in the mortal world. The current 9 provinces continent was full of vitality and spirit chi. It was dozens of times stronger than the previous era. Heavenly Song Academy, a spirit mountain. Today, Bai Juanhao, who was wearing a green robe, held a communication token and sent a message. Firework Team 1, Team 3, and Team 9, please reply if you copy. Ready, we can take off at any time. Bai Juanhao raised his hand. Then release it for me. Welcome guests. Swoosh, swoosh, bang, bang. Bang! Countless streams of colorful holy light soared into the sky, exploding into brilliant fireworks of all colors. The entire academy was filled with gongs and drums, decorated with lanterns and color banners. The academy was in a joyous mood. Today was the biggest event in Heavenly Song Academy, a joyous day from a certain arsonist. All of the people who had come had great backgrounds. Heavenly Song Academy, at the peak of the Spirit Mountain, the vice principal and principal were present at the same time. Their eyes were full of smiles. Class 60 SXS, Ing Liang, and Yu Lin Lin were in charge of receiving the wedding invitations from the bottom of the Spirit Mountain. They announced the names of the distinguished guests. Pill Region's Elder Council's Chief Elder, Song Ilian, brings a sacred pill to congratulate the newlyweds on their happiness. Thousand Charm Palace's Palace Master brings 3 secret manuals to congratulate the newlyweds, Lin Chun, on improving their bed skills and having fun every night. Sword Region's Immemorial Sword City's Master brings a pair of happy swords to congratulate the newlyweds on their love for eternity. Purple Cloud King Valley brings 8 cultivation techniques to congratulate the newlyweds on their love for eternity. Black Horse Club's director brings a bag of Jinkala to congratulate the newlyweds on improving their skills day after day. Dressed in a white robe, Ing Liang stood before the gate of the Spirit Mountain and announced the names of the famous people from the sacred boundary. The people around Heavenly Song Academy were dumbfounded. Only a small number of people knew about today's wedding. It wasn't announced to the spiritual state, nor was it publicized. It was the first time for most of the forces to see such a scene. They were all big shots from the sacred boundary. Which big shot from Heavenly Song Academy is getting married? Why is there such a scene? Even the big shots from the sacred boundaries, Flame region and Sword region, are they so powerful? Damn, that person is so handsome. Is there anyone as handsome as him in the 9 states? What's his background? You don't even know who the director of the Black Horse Club is. No way. Even the director of the Black Horse Club, the king of single machines, is here. How shameless is this bridegroom? He even invited the king of single machines. More and more forces were paying attention to the banquet in the spiritual state. Every time they tried to get close to the banquet, they would be stopped by a group of mysterious masters. Their cultivation strength was close to the peak of the Saint realm, scaring the masters of the 9 states. Oh, Princess Xingyue of the Dragon Clan of the Sacred Boundary, Princess Mu Tianqing of the Azure Dragon Clan, and Princess Luo Shueiyue of the Extreme Hellwater Dragon Clan, dressed in a bright red short skirt. Yu Linlin looked at the invitations in her hand and then looked at the elegant and cold dragon princesses. She raised her eyebrows. Yu Linlin smiled slyly. Please come here. Class 66 has specially arranged a special seat for you 2 princesses. The 3 girls froze. They were here to attend the banquet and had special seats. When Yu Linlin led the 3 dragon princesses to the main hall, they saw that there were 2 seats in the banquet that were filled with all kinds of beauties. Yu Linlin smiled coquettishly. These are the special seats for the 3 of you. Luo Shueiyue was a meticulous person. She knew something was wrong with the seats. She looked at the beautiful figures. Some were so beautiful that even birds and beasts would fall from the sky. Some were so handsome that they were as beautiful as peaches and plums. Some were gentle and lovely, as delicate as autumn water. Some of them were tall, sexy, and charming. There were the princesses of the Holy Empire, Yu Qingli and Yu Yulan. The twin princesses of the Qin family in the Sacred Boundary, Qin Miao, Qin Jian, and Sun Yuer, the descendant of the Poison Saint. There were Yuxin one of the top 10 beauties on the Demon Genius list, Luo Qingyu of the Luo family in the 9 states, Dan Qinxiu of the Danzhou Ancient family, Murong Qingxue of the Murong family, and Han Ziyun of the Han family. Every single one of them was a beautiful woman. Their attire today was even more dazzling. They brought out their own charm even more, as if they were not going to lose out to the girls from other families. Luo Shueiyue asked curiously, "Little girl, what seat is this?" Yu Linlin stuck out her tongue mischievously and said with a sly smile, "Here, this is Class 60 SXS special seat, the loser seat." Chapter 1869. The simple-minded Mu Tianqing asked in confusion, "Loser's seat?" Luo Shueiyue raised her eyebrows. She seemed to have realized something as a faint blush appeared on her cheeks. Lu Lin, from Class 66, skillfully took out the introduction jade slip and smiled. The loser's seat is specially prepared for women who can't get the person they like. They are unwilling to let go of their thoughts and feelings for him, but it's difficult for them to get him in this life. In the end, they will be alone for the rest of their lives. When Princess Xingyu, who was still noble and elegant a moment ago, heard this, she immediately exploded and couldn't help but stomp her feet. "Who likes him? I'm only here today to congratulate him on behalf of the Dragon Clan." After speaking, Princess Xingyu turned around and was about to sit in another seat. When Lu Lin, closed the jade slip, she smiled faintly. "When the banquet begins, our Class 66 will have a special method to deal with Lin Shun. It's only limited to the public loser's seat." Princess Xingyu's figure paused. Luo Shueiyue had already sat down in the loser's seat. Mu Tianqing also sat down obediently and dignified. Yu Linlin smiled. and pulled Princess Xingyu back to her seat. He smiled and said, "Sister, since you're here to congratulate, isn't it the same no matter where you sit?" Princess Xingyu coughed lightly. "The seats over there seem to be full. Then I'll reluctantly squeeze in." Yu Linlin suppressed his laughter while Lu Lin smiled. Luo Shuiwe asked curiously, "By the way, how many brides are there today?" Lu Lin smiled and said, "Class Monitor Lin Chen originally decided on 3, but Sister Bai Ruoyan interrogated Class Monitor Lin Chen and revealed all his love debts. We have no way of knowing how many there are in the end. On the other side, many powerhouses had gathered. Iceheart Palace, Divine Flame Palace, Sword Regions, Ancient Sword City, Purple Cloud King Valley, Realm Tower, Pill Regions Elder Assembly, and many other rank 4 sects of the Mystic Domain. Those who came today were all familiar faces. Everyone discussed and looked forward to it. After 12 hours of VIP seating, the main event was finally about to begin. In the main hall, Su Lan and Su Lan from Class 66 stood together. They looked at each other and smiled. Then, the two girls said, "Let's welcome our most handsome groom." With a bang, fireworks exploded outside the hall. A tall figure was escorted into the hall by Gu Qinfeng and by Juan Hao. He was wearing a red robe and a jade belt around his waist. His eyes were adorned with stars, and his eyebrows were sharp and straight. It was Lin Chun. That's our academy's only orange-ranked senior. Awesome. He's on a completely different level compared to the seniors in the academy. Oh my God, I'm in love. Junior, calm down. Today is his senior's big day. Why are you throwing a tantrum at the bridegroom? Fisk, who said that I can't like the headmaster. Do you like her, or do you like her? A group of Heavenly Song Academy's genius students gathered outside the lobby, gazing curiously at Lin Chun as they chattered among themselves. The experts of the various forces were overjoyed. Today they had finally achieved their goal. However, the corner of Lin Chen's mouth was twitching, and his eyebrows were twitching. He was panicking, extremely panicking. This wedding was completely different from what he had imagined. I've never heard of a bridegroom who didn't even know how many women he was going to marry on his wedding day. Amazing. When Lin Shan returned to the 9 provinces, Bai Ruoyan had interrogated him and investigated his journey from the 9 provinces to the sacred boundary. Then, she chased him into the firmament tower and didn't let him out. Bai Ruoyan and Leng Yueqi were in charge of arranging Lin Chen's wedding. Until now, Lin Chen still didn't know how many women he was going to marry. Gu Qinfeng saw Lin Chen's appearance and tried his best to hold back his laughter. Bai Juanhao laughed mockingly. Class Monitor, I didn't expect you to have such a day. You went from the mortal realm to the sacred boundary and caused so many romantic deaths. Did sister-in-law arrange it? Gu Qinfeng gave him a thumbs up. Class Monitor, as expected of you. You didn't follow the routine when you got married. Seeing Lin Chen's appearance, everyone present was very curious. What would happen next? After Lin Chen was brought into the lobby, at this time, the bright red curtain in the lobby was slightly pulled open, and countless distinguished guests present were looking forward to it. When the red curtain was pulled open, the first bride came into everyone's sight. Yin Manqing was wearing a beautiful pink and white dress. Her features were picturesque, and her delicate jade ears were adorned with luminous pearl earrings that sparkled under the moonlight. The gentleness between her eyebrows was moving, and her soft and boneless waist outlined a perfect curve. Her delicate and beautiful jade cheeks were dyed with a faint crimson color. She was indeed a national beauty. Immediately after, when the second bride appeared on the stage, everyone was stunned and gasped in amazement. The first thing that came into everyone's sight was her eyes that were as clear as autumn water. Shangwan Bihan was wearing an elegant and noble snow-white cheongsam. Her arms were white as snow as she walked over gracefully. Her black hair was coiled up with a phoenix hairpin, and she wore a red veil that couldn't hide her eyes that were shining with a purple gold light. She was as beautiful as a jade, and her dimples were beautiful and moving. She was like a princess from a neighboring country. Lin Chen's mouth was slightly open before Lin Chen could speak. The red curtain was pulled open again. The purple-white dress set off Yang Qing'er's lithe figure that was as light as a cloud. Her red lips were tender, and her teeth were as white as jade. Her snow-white hair was adorned with pearls and jade, and her white skin was flawless. Her autumn eyes were filled with tenderness. When she looked at the groom, her red lips parted slightly. "Do I look good like this?" Her voice was pleasant and graceful, like clouds and smoke, pleasant to the ear. This was Yang Qing'er's voice, and it was like smoke that tickled the tip of Lin Chen's heart. He was mesmerized and subconsciously said, "Very beautiful." Hearing this, Yang Qing'er was very shy. Her eyebrows drooped as she revealed a happy smile. At this time, the red curtain was pulled open again. A purple-black light appeared. Yin Xinyun was wearing a purple-black veil. Her eyes were like peach blossoms, and her eyebrows were like the distant mountains in March. Her lips were like cherry blossoms, and her collarbones were beautifully curved. Her skin was like ice and jade, and she was wearing a flowing cloud palace dress. Her figure was like a beautiful scenery, and her beauty was unparalleled. She was like a fairy under the night sky. The beauties at the loser table couldn't help but exclaim, "So beautiful!" Like a dark fairy, full of rebellious temptation that can make people turn the world upside down for her. As women, they could appreciate Yin Xinyun's charm even more. Lu Liner stared at Yin Xinyun and couldn't help but exclaim, "You really are the class leader." Lin Shan said in astonishment, Miss Xinyun?" Some of the guests laughed and said, "Our groom is treating her like an outsider. He still calls her Miss? Maybe it's because she wants to consummate her marriage that she's called a bride. Ha ha." With this, the whole hall was filled with teasing laughter. Yin Xinyun pursed her lips and said shyly, "Oh, have to be responsible for the arithmetic from before." Lin Shan scratched his head awkwardly. Something went wrong. When Lin Shan and Yin Xinyun competed in arithmetic, there was a section of arithmetic cultivation method recorded in the mental cultivation method of the 9 tribulations of Genesis. Lin Shan once divined that Yin Xinyun would have a bloody disaster, and the way to resolve it was to have physical interaction with Lin Shan. In fact, the bloody disaster in the divination happened in the great wilderness dragon clan of the 9 prefectures. It was just that Lin Shan rushed to the dragon clan in advance and rescued Yin Xinyun, preventing the disaster from happening. However, that arithmetic competition was imprinted in Yin Xinyun's heart, and she couldn't forget it for a long time. It wasn't over yet. After Yin Xinyun, Jin Xingxin was dressed in a red palace dress. Her figure was slender and exquisite, and her bright red hair reflected her bright red eyes. Her snow-white shoulders were slightly exposed, and her cold and beautiful snow was dyed with a faint crimson color. Her beautiful lips were raised in a happy arc, and her smile and frown were stunning. The 3 elders of ancient Sword City excitedly cheered for their granddaughter. Everyone laughed, and Jin Qingxiang was so ashamed that he almost pulled out his sword. Then Su Lan and Su Lan looked at each other and pulled open the red curtain. Finally, the 3 wives appeared. Chapter 1870. Out of thin air, the faint moonlight sprinkled down. When the beautiful and elegant fairy moved with light steps, her blue and white dress covered with frost fluttered like the clouds. Her beautiful shoulders were covered with a veil that was like smoke dyed with autumn frost. Her beautiful lips were a little red, and when her smile bloomed like a flower, she was as beautiful as Chang-yi in the Moon Palace. Lin Shan stared at Lung Yueqi, who was surrounded by mist and in a wedding dress. She was so beautiful that he was stunned. This was the ice and snow wedding dress that Lin Shan had once given her. Even the beauties present were stunned. How could there be such a peerless person in this world? The Su sisters pointed at Lin Chen's waist and snickered. Class President Lin, just looking at the first place isn't enough. Lin Shan turned around and saw a beautiful blue light. Her figure was as graceful as a swan, as slender as a willow tree. She quietly walked in front of Lin Shan. The blue-clothed fairy was like a quiet and elegant lotus. She was undisturbed by the mortal world, but her beauty was stunning. There were no gorgeous decorations, only a pair of delicate eyebrows. When she quietly looked at Lin Shun, her eyes were filled with tenderness. Seeing the blue-clothed fairy, everyone felt as if they were bathed in a spring breeze. All of their distracting thoughts were swept away. Lin Shen's mouth opened slightly. Qing Xian, Ning Qing Xian quietly smiled. It was as if she would forever be here, waiting for Lin Shun, like a pure and untainted lotus. What, you don't like it? A clear and elegant voice woke Lin Shun up. When he looked over, he couldn't shift his gaze away. Her long dress was like the first snow, and the long silk was like a cloud that fluttered around her body. Her hair was adorned with pearls, and her hair was tall. Her eyebrows were like the clouds of autumn. Her red lips were tender and beautiful, and her teeth were like jade. Her skin was like ice, and her bones were like jade. There was a sense of nobility and elegance between her eyebrows. Her hands were placed in front of her slender waist. Reflected in Lin Chen's eyes, it made his eyes flash with a strange color. If there were fairies in the mortal world, she was the most beautiful one. Even the distinguished guests felt the same way. The final appearance of the three main wives could be said to be the most beautiful and peerless of celestial fairies, causing the beauties in the loser's seat to reveal expressions of utter defeat. Then, Lin revealed a devilish smile. Sisters and sisters, don't be fooled by the class monitor's frivolous behavior. He's a responsible freak. Lin pointed at Lin Chen's back and drew a heart shape with a smirk. As long as the rice is cooked, I'm not afraid that he won't take responsibility. Hearing this, the girls stared at Lin Chen's back and their eyes lit up. Lin Shun subconsciously shuddered as he thought to himself, "Why do I feel like I'm being watched by someone?" Su Lan and Su Lan said together, "Enter the hall and bow to heaven and earth." Lin Shun and the girls entered the hall. The elders, led by Vice Principal Shun Linyan and Principal Yun Tiange, as well as Shangwan Yun Fan, Jian Sheng, and the other prospective fathers-in-law, sat in the hall and received Lin Shun and the others' bows. The moment Lin Shun and the girls finished drinking the wine, the crowd was in an uproar. "Brothers, it's the class monitor's turn to celebrate. Let's go and get him drunk. He can't enter the bridal chamber if he's not drunk. We can't beat him in a fight, but we can't beat him in a drink. Brothers, let's get him." Once the fireworks were released, the wedding banquet began. Bai Juanhao, Lin Can, and the others swarmed forward, and the hall was filled with joy. "Good, you dare to drink with me? Are you guys too arrogant? Or I can't drink anymore." Lin Shun rolled up his sleeves and competed with everyone in drinking. Seeing Lin Shun and the others blend into this lively and peaceful scene, the brides, led by Bai Ruoyan, smiled sweetly. After 3 rounds of drinking, the crowd sent the newlyweds into the bridal chamber. However, before entering the bridal chamber, Bai Ruoyan raised her hand and smiled faintly at Lin Shun. "Wait a minute. There's still a surprise that you haven't received." Lin Shun was puzzled. Surprise? As soon as she finished speaking, a person with a peerless demeanor wearing a silver dress slowly floated down from the sky like a star. Her silver hair was light, her skin was whiter than snow, her face was like snow jade, her eyes were bright, her teeth were white, her lips were red like cherry blossoms, and her eyebrows were brighter than the moon. Her facial features were flawless, surpassing countless handsome men and beautiful women in the mortal world. That tight silver dress perfectly accentuated her slender figure that was like a willow branch under the spring sun. The gentleness between her brows revealed the shyness of a youth, and her smile that was tinged with a red glow revealed a peerless beauty that made all women pale in comparison. Lin Shun and everyone in Class 66 were dumbfounded. The beauties in the losers' seats were like foxes whose tails had been stepped on. Their almond-shaped eyes widened, and they were dumbfounded. It was unknown which girl cried out in surprise. Our competitors aren't limited to girls. The #1 beauty of the sacred boundary in female clothing. How powerful was that? Almost all the men in the class were turned gay, or rather, half of them were already turned gay. Feeling the burning gazes around her, Han Yiji was so shy that she wanted to drill into the ground. She lowered her eyes and said timidly, "Dressing like this, wouldn't it be too strange?" Bai Ruoyan smiled. "Then you'll have to ask him." Han Yiji raised her eyebrows and gathered her courage. "Class monitor, are you happy today? Sister-in-law told me to wear this. She said that wearing it would make you happy. She said that she wanted to give you a surprise." Would it turn into a shock? Lin Shin was dumbfounded. Although he had already experienced Han Yiji's charm, the moment he wore female clothing, Lin Shin almost turned gay. Lin Shin clicked his tongue and exclaimed, "No, I'm very happy. Please put in more effort." Han Yiji let out a sigh of relief, as if she was perfectly satisfied. Lin Shin calmly gave Bai Ruoyan a thumbs up. "My wife knows me best." Bai Ruoyan smiled and said, "Sisters, do you see this heartless man? Do you know how to punish him next?" Clang! A sword was placed against Lin Chen's neck. Jian Qingqing's cold gaze made Lin Chen's mouth twitch slightly. "Send the groom to the bridal chamber." Everyone cheered and lifted Lin Chen one by one to send him into the room. "Class monitor, today is the day for you to show off your spear skills." Sigh, it's my life's regret to not be able to see the class monitor's spear skills. Suddenly, Ying Liang looked curiously at Han Yiji and subconsciously asked, "Aren't you going into the bridal chamber?" Han Yiji's cheeks flushed red to the tips of her ears, and she hurriedly waved her hands. At the same time, as soon as Ying Liang's voice fell, a murderous gaze locked onto Ying Liang, making him tremble in fear. Yu Linlin hinted with a smile and said, "If you continue talking, and if the class monitor develops in a strange direction, the sisters over there will cut you into 8 pieces." Ying Liang apologized loudly. "Sisters, I was wrong." "Oof, you're half dead." One of the princesses snorted coldly. The Heavenly Song Academy's banquet lasted for a whole month. After some people in the Sacred Boundary received the news, they continuously went to the Jiuzhou continent to participate in the banquet in a low-key manner. Just the congratulatory gifts from the distinguished guests lasted for a month. At the banquet, after 3 rounds of wine, Jian Wuji hugged Yin Tiange and smiled. "Where's Lin Shun? Isn't it too boring to not let the groom come out a toast?" Yin Tiange smiled playfully. "My student is still practicing his spear skills." Jian Wuji's slightly drunk face showed a hint of astonishment. "This kid, when did he become so hardworking? I'm really not used to him being so serious. He's still practicing his spear skills at this juncture?" Yin Tiange laughed. "Yes, he's been practicing for a month." Everyone burst into laughter. Chapter 1871. After the wedding banquet, the Sky Song Academy officially moved to the Sacred Boundary. Lin Chun led his wives to the Sacred Boundary. 12 years had passed in the blink of an eye. In 12 years, a large number of geniuses had emerged in the Sacred Boundary. The reason for this, apart from the providence belonging to the human race, was also due to a portion of this special geniuses. Whether it was the Sacred Boundary or the mortal realm, there were always special geniuses appearing. They were born with a Yuan venerate cultivation at birth and possessed part of their memories. They could speak fluently and clearly, and they could even cultivate cultivation techniques when they were born. At first, when a few cases appeared, they did not attract much attention. However, as time passed, the number of special geniuses increased, and they became strong candidates to compete for the genius rankings and even the demon rankings. Outside the Ice Heart Palace, a little girl in white broke in. The little girl put her hands on her hips and shouted like an old woman. "Open the door quickly. I want to see Lin Shen." The saint guarding the Ice Heart Palace was helpless. A figure flashed past. It was one of Lin Chen's servants, Tang Haiwei. Tang Haiwei asked what happened. The saint guarding the palace said helplessly, "I don't know where this little girl came from, but she's clamoring to see Lord Lin Shun." Tang Haiwei's gaze fell on the little girl. At first, she was shocked, then puzzled, and finally shocked. High above the Ice Heart Palace, on a cloud, Lin Shun was lying on a cloud. His eyes flickered as he finished reading the information Xiao Ling had compiled for him. At that moment, Bairuoyan flew over. After so many years, her beauty had changed slightly. Bairuoyan said, "Thief, that matter." Lin Chen got up and nodded. "I know." A genius with part of her cultivation memories. Lin Chen shook his head helplessly. "Yao must have done it." The genius who was reborn is a human who was once persecuted by the criminals of the sacred prison. All the special geniuses were related to Luo Yaoer. In the past 12 years, Lin Shun had borrowed Bairuoyan's eternal sacred fire to go to the reincarnation steal hundreds of times. Luo Yao had used her own life force and cultivation to retain part of the memories of countless dead humans, allowing them to have complete and powerful lives after their rebirth. "It's time." Lin Chen stood up. He was in high spirits and had regained his usual frivolous attitude. During these 12 years, Lin Chen roamed the 4 seas, traversing the divine river galaxy and enjoying the blessings of the mortal world. However, after searching the entire sacred boundary, he still couldn't find the last scroll of the Tai Futian mantra. His mantra was never complete, and even after taking away all the elemental light orbs in the divine river galaxy, he still couldn't step into the sacred heart realm. The last volume of the Tai Futian mantra might not be in the sacred boundary, much less the mortal world. Lin Shun could only go to the god realm and gamble. Mental cultivation techniques were the foundation of becoming strong. If he could find the complete version of the Tai Heaven concealing technique, Lin Chen's strength would increase by several times. On the other hand, Lin Chen's pure strength had soared to 700 billion venerable energy, even though the Dragon King had only absorbed a small portion of it after killing the primordial azure dragon. Lin Chen's realm had stopped at a bottleneck. The only miraculous thing was that Lin Chen's Dragon King had yet to come out of seclusion. However, Lin Chen could feel that the Dragon King's divine dragon meridian had already formed. The next time he came out of seclusion, he would surpass the Dragon King and descend in the form of a divine dragon. And it would be an extraordinary divine dragon. Bairuoyan seemed to have realized that it was time for them apart. She said softly, "Are you in the god realm?" Lin Chen teased. "My wife, you can't bear to part with me." Bairuoyan sighed. "Do? I wonder how many girls you're going to kidnap from the god realm." Lin Chen looked up and sighed. "Being handsome is so annoying." Bairuoyan suddenly asked curiously, "Speaking of which, why hasn't your appearance changed?" Although some cultivators could stay young forever, their appearance and temperament would more or less change. Only Lin Chen seemed to never change. After so many years, he still looked the same. Lin Chen stroked his chin. "According to the system's answer, this body of mine seems to grow according to the age of my original world. If I don't change in my original world, I won't change in this world." Bairuoyan looked doubtful. "Original world? System? What's that?" Lin Chen laughed and said, "It's just a part of my body. Speaking of which, it's not like I haven't grown at all." Lin Chen said with a naughty smile, "Haven't I grown a lot in that aspect? You all can't handle it." Bairuoyan's cheeks flushed red. She covered her mouth and laughed. "You're all naughty from head to toe." With Lin Chen's foundation, the dual cultivation union talent had given the girls a terrifying cultivation base in the past 12 years. Even Yang Qing and Yun Manqing, who had the weakest cultivations, were now 9th Revolution saints after 12 years of accumulation. As for the 3 main wives, Bairuoyan was a mid-stage quasi-god, Ning Qingxian was a reincarnation sage, and Lung Yueqi was an early-stage quasi-god. Being able to provide such powerful cultivation to the 3 girls was because of Lin Chen's terrifying cultivation foundation. Currently, there were very few existences in the Divine River Galaxy that could threaten them. The only fly in the ointment was that none of his wives or concubines were able to conceive Lin Chen's offspring. The reason was simple. Lin Chen was too strong. No matter what race it was, the stronger the existence, the harder it was for them to have descendants. In the past, The human race's martial god married over 100 beauties in order to nurture his descendants. They were all peerless existences in the human race's sacred boundary. Even so, the martial god still spent dozens of eras, hundreds of thousands of years, to produce one Wu Pianju. Just as Bai Ruoyan was about to talk to Lin Shun about Luo Yao, a group of beautiful figures suddenly rushed into the clouds. It was Lin Chen's beautiful wives. Jian Qingcheng, who was leading the group, hurriedly said, "Lin Shun, quick, someone came from the palace. Quickly go down and take a look." Lin Shun was puzzled. Which big shot had come? Why did he have to go down personally? Lin Chen's figure flashed, and when he arrived at the main hall of the Ice Heart Palace, many servants were stunned as they looked at the little girl in white with her hands on her hips. Before Lin Shun could say anything, he was stunned when he saw the little girl's appearance and aura. The little girl said proudly, "Seeing me come back, are you so happy that you can't speak?" Lin Shun walked in front of her in shock and pinched her cheeks. After confirming that it was a real person, he said in astonishment, "Ping and you, how did you come back?" Lin Ping, and who had died in the war, had miraculously returned. "Ha ha!" A loud laugh sounded, and the figure of the old man appeared. He was riding a four-dimensional white goat, stroking his beard and laughing. What a strange combination of factors. Lin Shun, you have released the destiny of the human race, and the current situation of the human race has changed. The suffering of the world have been greatly reduced. The current suffering of the world was the pain of pain no longer exists. Lin Shun looked at the old man. "Senior, this is only the disappearance of the pain of pain. Ping and didn't die in the war," the old man smiled. "You'll have to ask her about this." Lin Ping An's eyebrows curved slightly, smiling like a flower. "After I died, when I felt that I was about to fall into darkness, I saw a ray of light that guided me forward. I followed that ray of light and was reborn in an 8th-ranked family in the sacred boundary. I still have my previous memories." Lin Shun was stunned. When he and Bai Ruoyan looked at each other, the couple exclaimed in unison, "It's Yao." After Lin Ping and died, the ray of light that guided him into reincarnation must have been guided by Luo Yao. If this demon empress had not chosen to atone in her own way, Lin Ping, and would have disappeared forever. Everything had its own cause and effect, except for Lin Shun. Chapter 1872. Ha ha! Big Sis Ping is back. Everyone, let's drink to our heart's content tonight. As expected, nothing related to the Lord is normal. Why is she so showy? Everyone cheered. Suddenly, Lin Chun raised his hand. Everyone was silent. Lin Chun announced, "Everyone, I'll leave the sacred boundary to you." Lin Chun opened his palm. It was Zhou Tian's spiritual imprint of the death seal. The next moment, Lin Chun erased everyone's spiritual imprints. All the servants trembled. The feeling of being controlled and being watched disappeared. Fong Ling was shocked. "My lord," Lin Chun smiled. "I'm about to leave the sacred boundary. I don't have anything to give you, but I'll give you a form of freedom." All the servants' eyes were filled with tears. Their lord was so magnanimous. This wasn't just a formality. We're willing to follow our lord to death. This life belongs to Lin Chun. All the servants knelt and shouted in unison. Lin Ping and looked at Lin Chun and said anxiously, "Are you leaving? Can you bring me along?" Lin Chun said helplessly, "You little girl, you're so playful when you're finally back. This time, you're not fooling around. Stay here in peace. No one will bully you when you're here." Lin Ping was a little disappointed. Then, she waved her fist and cheered for herself. "Oof. If you don't want to bring me along, so be it. Who cares? I'll work hard and surpass you in the future. I'll make you beg me to bring you along." Old man Wuji seemed to have expected this. Lin Shun, after three-dimensional beings enter the celestial realm, they won't be able to adapt to the fourth dimension and will be limited in strength. Please keep a low profile. Lin Chun laughed. "Don't worry, I'll keep a low profile." Lin Shun will keep a low profile. "Yes, I really believe it," Lin Shun said. After I leave, I'll leave a single phantom to guard the sacred boundary. Whoosh! Lin Chun soared into the sky, and a crowd of beautiful women looked on anxiously. Countless words were on the tip of their tongues, but in the end, only one sentence remained. Remember to come back. Big brother, I'll send you off. A dark shadow emerged, and Lin Can's figure appeared in the sky. Shadow King, take off. Lin Chen laughed heartily and patted Lin Can's shoulder. The shadow transformed into a dragon and carried Lin Can out of the divine river galaxy. The Shadow King, who had stepped into the quasi-god level of cultivation, could travel through the void even faster than Lin Chen. Lin Chen had met two women from the god realm. The woman with starry eyes had given Lin Chen a starry sky godstone that was refined from a three-dimensional material. Three-dimensional creatures could also use it. Normal three-dimensional creatures would need to find the boundary of the universe to travel to the four-dimensional universe. There were many entrances to the four-dimensional universe there. However, the universe Lin Chen was in was constantly expanding, and the boundaries of the universe were constantly expanding outwards. Using normal means to search for him would take at least several epochs. 12 years ago, one day, when Lin Chen was unconscious, the boundary of the mystic domain. On the cliff outside the wooden house, the two women met. Bai Ruoyan lost her voice in shock. You want to save the lives of those humans who died? Luo Yao nodded. I can feel the aura of the eternal sacred flame on your body. You have once reached the reincarnation tablet. If it's you, you should be able to understand what I mean. Bai Ruoyan shook her head. I don't understand. If you do this, you will only be playing with your life. Don't forget that the reason he participated in this war is because of you. A happy smile appeared on Luo Yao's pale face. It's because I started everything that I want to end it all. I promised my mother that I would not fall into the hatred of the demonic tribe. I would understand the importance of life and open up a new path for the demonic tribe. I failed my mother's wishes and was driven by the hatred of the demonic tribe. If I hadn't met him, I wouldn't even remember these things. Luo Yao looked at Bai Ruoyan. Please take care of him for me. Bai Ruoyan pondered for a long time. Then, she said seriously, if you have made up your mind, please promise me something. Luo Yao stroked her hair and said softly, please speak. Bai Ruoyan only said one thing. Please don't die. The reincarnation tablet. In front of the huge heavenly tablet, a figure stood there quietly. Outside the barrier, Bai Ruoyan, who was bathed in the eternal sacred flame, transmitted her voice. He has already set off for the divine realm. The beautiful figure in front of the heavenly tablet trembled slightly. Outside the barrier, Bai Ruoyan sighed. You want to fulfill the promise your late mother made. I hope you won't forget the promise between you and me. Big brother, please be careful. After leaving the divine river galaxy, Lin Can and Lin Chen solemnly bid farewell. The two brothers gave each other a bear hug. Lin Can's cultivation was not enough to go to the divine realm. Although Lin Can's spatial talent was powerful, he had to face the baptism of the energy tide in order to ascend to the divine realm. It was equivalent to descending to the divine realm. He had to face it with his strength. Lin Can's strength was insufficient, so he could only stay in the sacred boundary. When he opened his palm, the green starry sky divine stone flickered. This item was made with the materials of the divine river galaxy. The three-dimensional human race could also use it. The woman in the starry sky dress left it for Lin Chen to teleport to the divine realm. Lin Chen shook his head and laughed. When I first arrived at the sacred boundary, my cultivation was at the 7th level of the Battle Emperor realm. Now that I'm about to ascend to the divine realm, I'm also at the 7th level of the Sage realm. Why do I feel like I've been arranged so clearly? Crack! Bang! Lin Chen crushed the starry sky, divine stone. Instantly, a ray of silver-white light appeared in the sky and crushed the stars nearby. Lin Chen was sucked into the ray of light. Lin Chen's primordial spirit perception instantly disappeared. It was as if it had been cut off. A strange force was pulling Lin Chen. This is the energy tide I have to face when ascending to the divine realm. Lin Chen instantly activated his sacred energy defense. He stared into the distance and disappeared after being sucked into the silver-white ray of light. 1 month later, in the four-dimensional divine realm, becoming a god was just the beginning. There were 3,000 grand daos, and the truth of the laws were contained within them. True gods who controlled the laws were the best among the gods. In the vast universe, countless galaxies, star fields, and nebulas were arranged in rows. Numerous nets of law covered the universe. The 3,000 grand daos hung in the sky like a net of law. Galaxies formed a star field. Among the many star fields in the divine realm, the divine desolate star field was the most vast. At the border of the divine desolate star field, there was a continent. Today, two handsome young masters of the Shangwan family of the enlightened sky continent were carrying out a family mission with many true gods. In the void, a team was moving as fast as a shooting star. A burly man with fiery eyebrows and sharp eyes said with a mocking smile, "When did the Shangwan clan produce such handsome heroes like you? Why have I never seen you before? Could it be that you're an expert hidden by the Shangwan family?" The snow-robed young master in the team said indifferently, "Your Excellency Chi-Yu, it's enough that we can prove that we're from the Shangwan family. You don't need to worry about anything else. Or do you want to use your body to personally experience the Shangwan family's cultivation technique?" TCH, True God Huomei curled his lips. The attitude of the two people was so strong that he was given the cold shoulder. When the team passed by a mountain range, a terrifying roar that seemed to tear the sky apart resounded throughout the sky. Roar, roar, roar. The sound waves rolled over, and the true gods were shocked. This is the roar of the king of the exploding dragon in the nearby exploding Dragon Mountain range. The 7 true gods looked at each other and had a tacit understanding. Let's go take a look. In the curved space, the various true gods used their movement techniques. Strange phenomena appeared as they shuttled through the void. Clouds and smoke filled the air. The mountain range with undulating peaks was in a complete mess. The ground cracked and the mountains collapsed. Such terrifying destructive power caused the 5 true gods to have grave expressions. Good heavens! Which ruthless person suppressed the exploding Dragon Mountain range? Other than the king of the exploding dragon, there's also an azure dragon. The 2 divine dragons are ferocious by nature. Apart from us and the other true gods, no one would dare to provoke them. It's rumored that the nearby Cheongchi of the Great Wilderness has set their eyes on the exploding Dragon Mountain range. Could it be that they've started a fight? But why is the corpse gone? No. There's someone under the mountain range. While the 7 true gods were discussing, True God Huomei exclaimed. The true gods stared at the mountain range. Under the mountain range, a silver-robed figure bathed in blood stood there. His same points were dim and lightless. He stood there like a war spear with his arms crossed in front of his chest. His posture was awe-inspiring, and his aura did not decrease. The true gods sucked in a breath of cold air. Is this for real? 7th heaven, sage realm? Where did this true god come from? In the exploding Dragon Mountain range, Saint Beasts ran amok. Saint King Saint Beast could be found everywhere. A 7th heaven sage realm expert was not even enough to fill the gaps between the teeth of a Saint King Saint Beast. He dared to enter this place? Before he even reached the periphery, he was already devoured without leaving a corpse behind. The 2 handsome Shangwan family young masters stared at the figure. The snow-robed young master suddenly said, "He seems to have lost consciousness." The 5 true gods' figures flashed. After confirming that there was no danger, they approached. When they landed and took a closer look, the snow-robed young master's pupils shrank. He actually fainted while standing. Another handsome young master of the Shangwan family, who was also a brilliant young master, lost his voice in shock. The reason why he fainted it's because of the rejection of the dimension. The true gods felt as if they were struck by lightning. They were dumbfounded, and their expressions gradually became ridiculous. Rejection of the dimension? This was even more F*** ridiculous. What kind of concept was this? Did it mean that this kid was actually a three-dimensional human who had just arrived here? A seventh heaven sage realm, three-dimensional human dared to enter the exploding Dragon Mountain range? And he even survived? There was a huge gap between a true god and a true god. The two of them could not be compared at all. No matter how amazing a genius was, it was impossible for a seventh heaven sage realm expert to overturn the heavens. Even a novel writer would not dare to write like this. Even if you want to talk nonsense, you still have to pay attention to the basics. What kind of bullsh asterisk tea was this? Divine World Chapter Start. A new journey, speeding all the way. Chapter 1873. Time continued to move forward. Lin Chun used his fleshly body to resist the tidal force brought about by the ascension. He had forcefully entered the divine world. Even though he managed to forcefully resist the tidal force, an awkward thing happened. The Cosmos Divine Stone that the lady in the starry dress had given Lin Chun disappeared halfway. No. He couldn't blame the lady for this. The destination of the Cosmos Divine Stone was the 5 continents of the divine world. At the very least, it would be able to reach the enlightened sky mainland. At the very least, it would be able to send Lin Chun to a safe place. However, because the Cosmos Divine Stone was made of three-dimensional materials, there was a flaw. The user's cultivation would determine the distance the stone could travel. If Lin Chun used the stone as a true god, he would definitely be able to reach the 5 continents. He might even be able to reach the territory of the Lin family. Even though Lin Chun's saint energy was strong enough to fight against a true god, he was still a 7th heaven true saint. The lady with the starry eyes had never expected that a 7th heaven true saint would be able to ascend to the divine world. Who the F asterisk CK would have expected this? A 7th heaven true saint? He was like a ghost. At the very least, he should be a quasi-god. This was something completely unexpected. As a result, the heavenly space divine stone was shot out of Lin Chun's body as soon as he entered the divine world. As a result, Lin Chun had landed in the most dangerous place in the divine world, the divine desolate star region. Even though it was just the border, it was definitely not a place that a true saint could reach. The divine desolate star region of the divine world was occupied by the dragon race, devil race, beast race, and Azura race. It was the most dangerous place for the human race. True saints were no different from ants in the divine desolate star region. The slightest movement would cause them to be crushed to death. Rumble. A silvery white pillar of light descended, and Lin Chun's figure appeared. At this moment, what appeared in front of him was a brand new world. The curved world seemed to be hanging in the sky. Above him was a dense forest surrounded by towering trees. There were even a few Saint King grade saint beasts in the forest above him. Due to the hardness of the crystal walls, Lin Chun could only create a gust of wind when he punched with his 700 billion venerable energy. The space of the God realm is so hard. Back in the Divine River planetary system, my fist strike could wipe out half of the planetary system, but here it could only destroy a forest. Lin Chun took a deep breath and inhaled a mouthful of spiritual energy. He was in high spirits as he praised. The spiritual energy of the God realm is truly pure. Compared to the sacred boundary, the purity of the spiritual energy was more than 1,000 times higher. What a monster! If I were to pick up attributes here, wouldn't I soar? Boom! Lin Chun threw out another punch with all his might. The wind from his punch wasn't moving forward, but from a visual point of view, it was actually moving upwards. This is a 4-dimensional world. Lin Chun gasped in amazement. The 4-dimensional world, from the perspective of the naked eye, was like being inside a curved and rotating sphere. Every time Lin Chun took a step, the curved world would spin, and the scenery would change. If Lin Chun wanted to reach the forest above his head, he shouldn't be flying upwards. He should be walking forward. Lin Chun threw a punch forward. The attack seemed to be flying upwards in a curved arc, but it was actually moving forward. This was just an analogy. Lin Shun was currently in the four-dimensional world, and what he sensed was far more complicated and magical than he imagined. However, in the next moment, Lin Shin's expression was extremely interesting. My sacred power, flesh shell, and even my primordial spirit are starting to shrink. Lin Shun was moved. His cultivation, pure strength, and primordial spirit were slowly dimming. The more his cultivation shrunk, the clearer Lin Shun could see the four-dimensional world. This is what the old man Wuji said: when the body is familiar with the four-dimensional world, most of my cultivation will temporarily enter a state where I can't use it. Lin Shin was about to slip away. Boom, boom, boom. The earth trembled, and a violent aura swept through the surroundings like a hurricane. When the scorching dragon aura approached Lin Shun, a low roar reverberated in the sky. Where did this weak human come from? How dare you sneak into my lair, Dai? Whoosh! The sound of wind cracking could be heard, and a dragon claw burning with majestic divine flames smashed down from above Lin Shen's head. F***CK. Encountering a divine dragon at the beginning of the heavenly realm? What the F***CK? What the F***CK? Facing the attack from above, Lin Shen's shoulders trembled as he channeled all of his remaining saint energy. With a backhand strike, he activated the 9-extinction heaven-burning palm with a flash shadow technique. Whoosh! Bang! The mountains and rivers trembled, and the wind and clouds suddenly changed. The shockwave blew away a large amount of vegetation, and the aftermath of the two sides burst forth, burning a sea of fire. You can actually take a claw from me, the exploding Dragon King. You are not an ordinary human. Die. I'm going to devour you and your secrets. A huge creature appeared out of nowhere. Its majestic dragon body was hundreds of feet long, and its majestic aura was majestic. It was even stronger than the divine dragons in the sacred boundary that were comparable to small galaxies. It's more familiar with the fourth dimension than I am. If I want to escape, I have to escape before my cultivation is suppressed. If I can't escape, I will die here. Rather than that, it's better to end this quickly and destroy it before my cultivation is completely suppressed. Lin Shun released his 6 illusionary doppelgangers and rushed forward, unleashing all their firepower. Rumble. The heavens and earth were filled with an endless battle aura that instantly attracted the attention of the second Grand Desolation Azure Dragon. Lin Shen's eyes were filled with murderous intent. F***CK. Do you really think the people in the three-dimensional universe are easy to bully, Divine Dragon? A dragon's roar shook heaven and earth, and another divine dragon descended. Under the valley, a silver-robed figure bathed in blood stood there. That person's sacred acupoints were dim, and he had lost all his sacred power. He stood there like a war spear with his arms crossed in front of his chest. His posture was awe-inspiring, and his aura did not diminish at all. Hey, is this for real? Why is there a saint in that place? The explosive Dragon Mountain Range is where the sacred beast of reincarnation roams. Why is he here? Staring at the unconscious Lin Shun, the few true gods asked curiously. What a young, three-dimensional human. Sigh. His physique refining power seems a little interesting, but because of the repulsion of the dimension, it's suppressed. It's suppressed to an extremely low level, and I can't sense his exact strength. No matter what, it's unbelievable that a 7th-level saint could enter this place. While the two true gods were discussing, the two handsome young masters of the Shangwan family suddenly said, "We can't sense the aura of the explosive Dragon King and the Grand Desolation Azure Dragon. They must have died an unnatural death. It's strange. If they were killed, where did the ruthless person who killed the two divine beasts go? Along the way, we didn't see any signs of experts leaving or using skills. Could it be a big shot who has mastered the laws of nature?" The true gods looked at each other. True God Hua, Meichi Yu said seriously, "First, we can eliminate the first possibility. The death of the explosive Dragon King has nothing to do with him." Chi Yu looked around and said seriously, Looking at his appearance, he should have just descended from the third dimension. There should be one or more true gods with him. That's right. Any true god with a normal brain would not think that a 7th-level Saint Human had anything to do with the death of the explosive Dragon King. What kind of existence was a divine beast? It could wipe out a large number of Sage Kings in one breath. A 7th-level saint? He was not even enough to fill the gap between the teeth. Based on their experience, no matter how powerful a 7th-level saint was, it was impossible for him to be able to threaten a divine dragon. The only possibility was that when the young, 3-dimensional human ascended, there was a true god with him. Then, when he descended, the true god killed the explosive Dragon King. Then, something happened, and they were unable to bring him away in time. Thinking about it this way, everything made sense. Otherwise, it was impossible to imagine how this kid could survive in the explosive Dragon Mountain range. Chapter 1874. There were countless human universes, and the Divine River Galaxy that Lin Shan was in was only one of them. Countless 3-dimensional universes would occasionally give birth to true gods with strong mental states and choose to ascend to the divine world. 4 3-dimensional beings who came to the 4-dimensional divine world for the first time, their strength would be gradually suppressed because they couldn't adapt to the 4-dimensional world. Only when they were truly suited to the 4-dimensional world would they be able to unleash their full strength. Suddenly, the Shangwan family's snow-robed young master said seriously, "My Shangwan family wants this human. Coincidentally, my Shangwan family is in need of people." The other 3 true gods' eyes changed, and Chi Yu sneered. "You want to take all the secrets on this child?" A saint who was able to remain alive in the explosive Dragon Mountain range might have some secrets after all. Although to a true god, the secrets of Sage weren't of much interest. Even if this child had a grade 9 sacred artifact and a pinnacle sacred pill, they were nothing to a true god. But the 3 true gods were experienced and would rather kill 100 innocents than let one go. He's just a Sage level 7. According to the price of a slave in the Realm C, he's only worth a few odd crystals. Why? Are you not convinced that my Shangwan family wants this person? The snow-robed young master squinted his eyes and revealed his killing intent. The atmosphere between the 5 true gods instantly became tense. Chi Yu sneered. "What do you take us for? This kid is obviously strange. Either we dismember him and see his secrets and fate plant pouch, or we crush him to death and give him to your Shangwan family." Chi Yu didn't know that the moment he had killing intent towards Lin Shan, some power in Lin Shan's body flashed with killing intent. Another true god in blue said indifferently, "Your Shangwan family can't take this child. We're here to cooperate, not to fight among ourselves." The third old man with white eyebrows smiled with a knife hidden in his smile. He stroked his beard and said, "In my opinion, both of you should take a step back and dismember this child on the spot. Let's see what secrets he has. If there are secrets, we can divide them equally." The snow-robed young master emphasized again. "I'll say it one last time. My Shangwan family wants this person. I'll fall out with whoever opposes." The white-robed young master looked at him in confusion. Boom! Divine might was as vast as the sea, and divine grace lingered around. Countless divine powers condensed in the air, and a divine voice spread out in all directions. Blue-gold divine power notes destroyed the aftermath of Oblivion Mountain and River. The snow-robed young master actually released his divine might to suppress the 3 deities. The 3 deities' expressions changed slightly. The white-browed elder who was pretending to be a peacemaker now had a serious expression on his face. This aura seems to be close to the 2nd level of the divine realm. Could it be? The snow-robed young master's voice was as clear as a spring, cold and emotionless. "Now, whoever opposes, please step forward." Domineering and powerful, he didn't give the 3 true gods any face at all. He had an attitude of, "If you dare to object, I'll fall out with you. He glanced at his younger brother beside him and said calmly, "Go put him into the Providence plant pouch. Don't worry." The white-robed man's face was full of suspicion, but he still did as he was told. He floated in the air, opened his fate plant pouch, and put Lin Chen into it. How domineering. Forget it. This is the world of you young people. Each generation is stronger than the last. Your Shangwan family is really tough. Just be careful not to be too tough and die prematurely. For the Shangwan clan to have such a young genius like you, it's really a blessing from the ancestral graves. The three true gods put on a fake smile. The snow-robed young master said calmly, "Thank you for the compliment." After suppressing the three deities and putting Lin Chen away, the five of them continued with their mission. The white-robed young master, who was also for the Shangwan family, was very confused about this, but he didn't ask anything. After the five deities left, a short while later, another group of people appeared at the exploding Dragon Mountain range. The exploding Dragon King's aura disappeared. This exploding Dragon King's life. I should have given the order in mission. The Divine Beast Core is used to refine the exploding Dragon Divine Pill. Those who are weaker than my sect shouldn't dare to touch this prey. The beautiful figure in the lead of the new group snorted coldly. Who dares to steal my prey? If I find you, I'll smash your head. 3 days later, after the mission ended, the two from the Shangwan family returned to the enlightening Sky Continent in the Star State. When they returned to the enlightening Sky Continent, the white-robed young master couldn't help but ask, "Sister, that mortal is still unconscious. Why did you save him? You offended three true gods for a mortal. That Shiyu is still in his peak condition. He might reach the second level of the divine realm in the future and become a hidden danger to the Shangwan family." Although her sister's choice was correct, she didn't understand this time. The Shangwan family of the Star State was one of the rulers of the enlightening Sky Continent. The two were true gods of the Shangwan family, so they disguised themselves as men. The snow-robed young master said calmly, "You don't have to say anything. I have my own considerations." The two returned to the enlightening Sky Continent. In a large area in the southeast, a large number of lit towers soared into the sky and revolved around the entire world. The light at the top of the towers condensed dense and pure saint power, which was comparable to God power. The energy at the top of the towers was transmitted to the outside world and projected to a distant place. This was the Divine Realm's unique peace zone. After descending on a huge mansion, the two returned to the Shangwan residence and changed back into women's clothes. The elder sister, Shangwan Yun, was cold and beautiful like an ice goddess. Her beautiful face was cold and emotionless. When she emitted God power, her sharp eyes seemed to be able to see through everything. The younger sister, Shangwan Qi, was natural and graceful. Her long hair reached her waist, and she wore a palace dress. She looked like a beauty from a neighboring country. "Welcome, seventh young mistress, sixth young mistress." The saint maids in the mansion bowed and received the gifts for the two. Seventh young mistress, Shangwan Qi, waved her hand, and a silver-robed figure appeared in the void. She said calmly, "Find a guest room for him. When he wakes up, don't let him walk around. Inform us." "Yes." The saint maids accepted the order and looked at Lin Chen curiously. It was strange that seventh young mistress had brought a man back to the mansion. Shangwan Yin looked at Lin Chen deeply and left for the main hall. Shangwan Qi looked at her sister's back helplessly. "Sister, you threw this matter to me again. Is this a test?" Lin Chen was carefully helped down by the maids. The maids were discussing among themselves. Who is the man that the two young mistresses favor? This young master is so handsome. The lady's laughter lingered in his ears. His chaotic consciousness disturbed Lin Chen's senses. He was deeply confused for a long time and could not wake up for a long time. The system's light screen flashed crazily and could not stop. Host has received 99 million high-level sacred health points, 8,000 high-level fire energy points. Lin Chen's attribute points were still soaring and only stopped after a few days. Lin Chen, on the other hand, stood up when his consciousness was faintly restored. Where am I? I'm still alive? Lin Shun touched his body and checked the big black spear. When he found that he was unharmed, he was instantly relieved. He had changed out of his blood-stained silver robe and had changed into a brand new green robe. Although I took away the attribute light ball at the last minute and asked Dragon God to be vigilant, I'm really lucky to be able to survive in such a dangerous place. Lin Shun got up from the bed and his stomach growled ferociously. Lin Shun was stunned. I'm hungry. He realized that he was not just hungry. He was so hungry that his limbs were weak. With Lin Chen's cultivation, he could completely absorb spiritual qi to survive. It was not a problem, even for a saint. He had only been in the realm of the gods for a few days, and he was already hungry. Lin Shun was amazed. It seems that even a saint can't eat in the realm of the gods. At this time, the door opened and a holy maid came in with food. When she saw Lin Shun wake up, she hurriedly said, "Young master, you can't move yet." Lin Shun smiled and said, "Beautiful girls, thank you for saving my life. Where am I now?" The holy maid shook her head. "It's not me who saved you. It's the eldest miss and the others." She put down the food on the plate. Lin Shun was attracted by the delicacies of the realm of the gods. He sat up and wolfed down the food without caring about his image. The holy maid covered her mouth and laughed. "Young master, you must be from outside the realm of the gods. You look completely different from us." Lin Chen's mouth was full of oil. He grinned. "What's different? Am I more handsome? Or have you never seen someone as handsome as me? Oh, I can't stand compliments. If you want to compliment me, you can compliment me more." The holy maid laughed. "Young master, you're so humorous. You're different from the people of the enlightened sky continent." Lin Chen's heart skipped a beat. He had heard of this name in the jade slip given to him by the woman in the star dress in the enlightened sky continent. At this time, two beautiful figures walked in from a door. The holy maid hurriedly stood up and bowed. "Greetings, 7th Miss and 6th Miss. I, little one, pay my respects to you too." Shangguan Qi frowned and thought, "What kind of table manners is this? Why did elder sister offend three true God for this kind of person?" The moment Shangguan Yin saw Lin Chen's eyes, a strange light flashed in her clear eyes. This young man, no, this man. He was completely different from the saints of the enlightened sky continent. He had fangs, and they were very sharp. A thought flashed in Shangguan Yin's mind. This man might be the type who was born to enter the ninefold realm sea. Seeing Lin Chen's table manners, 7th Miss Shangguan Qi's lips twitched slightly. She even felt that the workers in her mind were more polite than him. Shangguan Qi said indifferently, "Is this how you treat your saviors? Without us, you would have been fed to the saint beasts." Shangguan Yin stepped forward and walked to Lin Chen. She said, "Tell me your name, origin, and ability. Tell me as much as you can." Lin Shun immediately stood up and cupped his fists. "Are the two of you my saviors? I'm Lin Shun, from the three-dimensional divine river galaxy. In the industry, people call me Run Tai Shui. My nickname is Jundak Shui. His part-time job is alchemy and acting tough. His unique skill is the little black dragon in the waves. He can send a black spear into the sky. His specialty is his specialty. The book he likes to read is my martial arts depends on picking up. His hobby is studying the knowledge of both sexes." Chapter 1875. Lin Chin straightened his back, but the way he saluted with a chicken drumstick in his mouth really made it hard for people to be serious. Made Xiao An's eyes shone brightly as she stared at Lin Chin curiously. Shangguan Qi seemed to be extremely helpless and had no choice but to obey. Which three-dimensional universe gave birth to such an unorthodox weirdo? Shangguan Yin didn't think so. Her eyes were cold and sharp, which didn't match her beautiful temperament at all. Shangguan Yun said seriously, "How did you come to the divine realm alone?" Lin Shun said, "By chance, I was close to the boundary of the universe and was brought here." Shangguan Yun said again, "How did you withstand the tidal force of the dimension ascension?" Lin Shun wiped his hands and said, "I have some achievements in body refining since I was a child." It's a little hard, a little hard. I used my flesh shell to resist and my defense to resist. I thought I would definitely die, but I didn't expect to come to the divine realm. Maybe the heavens saw that I was too handsome and couldn't bear to take my life. Ignoring Lin Chen's glib tongue, Shangguan Yin asked again, "Do you still remember when you first came to the divine realm? Did you see anything?" Lin Chen said, "No, I became stupid as soon as I came." His younger sister, Shang Guanxi, saw the conversation between the two and had a slightly higher opinion of Lin Chen. Her sister was the most far-sighted true god in the Shangguan family, and her train of thought was also very difficult to keep up with. This young man could answer her sister's question in a second. He was really not simple. Shangguan Yun asked without hesitation. "That's all." Lin Chen scratched his head and said with a smile, "Miss, you are in the divine realm, right? You saw through me from head to toe. What else can I hide? I'm an honest child." Shangguan Yin turned around and said indifferently, "Qi, arrange for him to go to the mine tomorrow." After that, Shangguan Yin left. Shangguan Qi's almond-shaped eyes widened, and she was stunned. She hurriedly chased out of the room and said, "My good sister, are you kidding me? We've paid such a high price, and all you've saved is a bricklayer?" Shangguan Yin smiled for the first time. "Don't worry, it won't take long. This man isn't someone who can stay idle and doesn't belong to the enlightened sky continent. Rather, he's the complete opposite of the people here. Sooner or later, he will show his fangs." Hearing her words, Shang Guanxi's mouth twitched slightly. She was indeed his elder sister. Only a few people in the entire family could keep up with her. Shangguan Qi sighed helplessly. "Sure enough, compared to me, who is cultivating in a greenhouse, sister who has crossed the realm sea has seen things further. Her talent wasn't any worse than her sister's. In fact, it was even better." However, after Big Sister went to the first realm sea once, she could be said to have undergone a tremendous transformation. She broke through the shackles of the deity realm, and her actions were even more swift and decisive, precise and fierce. Shang Guanxi returned to the room and said, "Shaoan, take my handwritten instructions and let him report to the nitrate mining department tomorrow." Made Shaoan's expression change slightly. She took the order and said respectfully, "Shaoan accepts the order." Glancing at Lin Chen, who was still eating, Shang Guanxi couldn't help but roll her eyes, slamming the door and leaving. Lin Chen chuckled softly. "I've met a ruthless character right from the start," and was puzzled. "Huh? What did Prince Lin Chen say?" Lin Chen laughed and said, "It's nothing. I was just saying that I met such a beautiful lady as soon as I arrived." Shaoan said seriously, "The two ladies are indeed very beautiful." Lin Chen took out a mirror and pointed at the little handmaiden's reflection. He smiled and said, "I'm talking about this little sister. You're so annoying, young master." Shaoan's cheeks blushed as she patted Lin Chen's shoulder shyly. The next day, in the mine, bang, bang. With two loud bangs, the saints in the mine stared at Lin Chen, who was carrying the huge, on his shoulders, dumbfounded. Lin Chen grinned. "Come on, hit the workers." Working as a worker, working as a spirit, working as a worker was always above others. We have to work in secret and then amaze everyone. Then, when Lin Chen went deep into the ground, he waved the two mining hoes in his hands, and they were like afterimages as he crazily dug through the earth veins. If you want to be a worker made of iron, you'll be a princess if you rely on others. If you rely on yourself, you'll be a sun person. If you rely on yourself, you'll be a black horse person. If you rely on yourself, you'll be a glorious worker. Host has received 329 points of high-tier, saint-tier metal elemental energy, 3 million points of high-tier holy essence. There were many attributes in the underground mine. Although the quality was not high, Lin Chen felt an inexplicable sense of comfort after absorbing them. Bang, bang, bang. The ground shook as Lin Chen dug crazily. His efficiency was so high that all the saints who worked there were dumbfounded. Holy *T, this kid is so fierce. This technique, this speed, this hardness, I'm dumbfounded. Seeing him work so passionately, I can't help but get excited. as expected of someone recruited by young mistress. Is he so good at mining? Not every miner is called Lin Shen. I'm willing to call him the most inspirational miner. After a day, Lin Shen's achievements in the mine were remarkable. The depth of the mine and the efficiency of moving the mine were far beyond other saint workers. 3 days later, Lin Shen was still moving the mine. If this was spread back to the sacred boundary, no one would believe it. The man who was known as the most handsome man in the universe was actually moving the mine peacefully. Lin Shen's various performances were all witnessed by the sisters in the distant tower. Shangguan Qi was puzzled. "Sister, there's nothing strange about this. What are you trying to do?" Shangguan Yin said expressionlessly. "Haven't you noticed? His movements are getting faster and faster every day." Shangguan Qi was suspicious. "But he's no different from the workers in the mine." Shangguan Yun asked, "What's the record of the fastest three-dimensional creature to familiarize himself with the fourth dimension?" Shangguan Qi curiously calculated and said, "The luminous sun god from the three-dimensional celestial dragon galaxy used less than 500 years to completely familiarize himself with the divine realm." Before she finished speaking, Shangguan Qi's expression changed. "That's right. The most outstanding true god from the three-dimensional galaxy ascended to the divine realm. According to the known records, it took them hundreds of years to familiarize themselves with the ecology of the divine realm and recover their cultivation. How long did this kid take?" The current Lin Shen was walking as if he was flying, and there was no rejection at all. Judging from the pure power displayed, the tyrannical Saint Beast Barbara Dragon had recovered more than 500,000 supreme chi, and 49 saint points had been lit up. His cultivation had recovered a lot. At this speed, he would be able to fully familiarize himself with the ecology of the divine realm in a few years. No, speaking of which, she had always felt a sense of strangeness. She felt a very strong sense of strangeness from Lin Shen, because he was very natural. Rather than natural, it was better to say that he was calm and composed. Speaking of which, the difference between a saint and a true god was like heaven and earth. Was it possible for a saint to be neither servile nor overbearing in front of two true gods? Perhaps her sister had already noticed this. This kid might be an unprecedented prodigy. Chapter 1876. However, Shangguan Qi was still confused. No matter how outstanding and monstrous he was only a 7th-level saint. There were still 8th-level saint, 9th-level saint, 9th-level saint, half-step saint king, reincarnation saint, and quasi-god. How many years would it take for an ordinary human to cross these realms? It was too long. In the divine realm, even the gods could not live forever. A Saint King's lifespan was only 2,000 years. By the time he climbed to the reincarnation saint stage, he would have died of old age. If he did not even have the cultivation of a reincarnation saint, he would be like a piece of duckweed in the Shangguan clan. It was not surprising that he would disappear at any time. However, Shangguan Yin seemed to have seen something even further away. She said indifferently, "It's decided. Pass down my order." 1 month later, let him participate in the Shangguan clan's operation to Blood Fox Mountain. After saying that, Shangguan Yin left the tower without hesitation. Shangguan Qi looked at her sister's back in a daze and shook her head in self-mockery. If I hadn't followed her for so many years, I would have thought that she was crazy. The operation to Blood Fox Mountain? That was a life and death battle that only reincarnation saints could participate in. There would be many ancient sects that would send true god-level geniuses to participate, and they would not be inferior to her and her sister. What did it mean for a 7th-level saint to participate in such an operation? A little white rabbit mixed in with a group of towering elephants? Not to mention trampling him to death. She could even blow him over with a breath. Not to mention that this 7th-level saint was a three-dimensional human whose cultivation was suppressed. Was her sister too ridiculous? Or was this young man too monstrous? After eating and drinking to his heart's content, Lin Shun returned to his residence. The smile on his face disappeared in the next moment. Lin Shun sat on the bed with a deep look in his eyes. Enlightening heaven continent, there will never be a tomorrow. So that's how it is. After experiencing it personally, this sentence is indeed well-deserved. The enlightening heaven continent was a part of the star state, and it was controlled by many supreme families and forces. This was a peaceful area where there was no fighting. No, it should be said that the saints here did not even know how to fight. There were even very few saints who had learned cultivation techniques. What did it mean that a saint did not even know a cultivation technique? If this was in the sacred boundary, it would be unimaginable. But here, it was nothing out of the ordinary. The saints here didn't even know how to fight. All they had was saint power. Their acupoint expansion and acupoint condensation aptitude were nurtured and influenced by the God realm. They weren't inferior to those on the sacred boundaries monster ranking. However, the saints of the enlightened sky continent worked at sunrise and rested at sunset. 2 classes a day forever. They were paid on time, and there were forbidden areas that they could not enter. There were more than 10 types of jobs such as mines, holy towers, blood transmissions, fire burning, and so on. The mine was what Lin Shun was doing now. The sanctum, on the other hand, had to transfer a large amount of sacred power to the sanctum in a specific space and location. This was also the reason why Lin Shun had discovered so many towers nearby. They were all sacred towers. Every day, a large number of saints would enter to transfer their saint energy. Blood transmission was to transfer one's chi and blood to the divine tree. It had a higher requirement for one's body refinement. Ignite flame, burning one's own saint energy to supply the heavenly flame altar. Lin Shun narrowed his eyes. All the jobs are similar. They require saints to pay a huge price. The saints who participate in these jobs have half the lifespan of saints of the same level. After a baby was born in the enlightened sky continent, he could break through to the saint realm when he reached adulthood. He would then be sent here to work until he died of old age. The enlightened sky continent was completely under the rule of the celestial race. There was no competition or development. There was only a routine life. There were all sorts of entertainment methods here, but Lin Shun wasn't interested in learning about them. He only knew that he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Lin Shun didn't stay here because his brain was damaged. He was purely relying on the jobs in the mine and picking up attributes to help him familiarize himself with the 4-dimensional divine world. Moreover, he hid it very well. Even the 2 Shangwan sisters couldn't see through him completely. After all, it wasn't just his main body that was familiar with the 4-dimensional divine world, but also his phantom doppelganger. Lin Shun clenched his fists and closed his eyes to sense it. I've already recovered 30% of my strength. If I can recover more than 90% of my strength, I'll have the strength of an early-stage, first-level true god. When the time comes, I'll immediately look for clues about the Lin family. In the divine world, there should be many conditions to break through to the Saint Heart realm and heaven-opening realm. The corners of Lin Shun's lips curled upwards as he circulated the Tai E Sky concealing technique. Among the 140 saint points, 110 of them lit up, and boundless saint energy began to circulate. As expected, although there aren't many attribute light balls in this mine, there's a benefit to them. Lin Shun's eyes lit up. The attribute light balls dropped by the divine world can help me familiarize myself with the 4-dimensional divine world. Attribute light orbs were a part of the items that had been dropped. As a 4-dimensional life form or a 4-dimensional treasure, these attribute light orbs would be able to help Lin Shun quickly assimilate into the deity realm. Lin Shun's saint points had already broken through to the mid-stage life and death realm. As long as he recovered to his peak, he would have the power to protect himself in the divine world. Tomorrow is another day of work. Lin Shun fell asleep immediately. The saints in the divine world needed to sleep. At most, they could stay awake for several days and nights. However, their spirit and primordial spirit would fall into a state of fatigue. If he continued to persevere, something would happen. Before he reached the divine realm, he would need to rest every 2 to 3 days. The next day, in the mine, Lin Chen's voice was as if he had been injected with chicken blood. I want to be a worker made of iron. We don't rely on our parents. We only work hard. As long as I work hard enough, the boss will definitely be able to live a better life. Let's do it, brothers. The Saint King mine head looked at the shouting person who was working as hard as dozens of people. He couldn't help but shake his head in amazement. I knew that this kid was not ordinary. I didn't expect him to be a genius worker. Time passed. Lin Shun had done all kinds of work from the mine to the holy tower. He had collected all the attribute light balls in the area. During this period, Lin Shun had a clearer understanding of the divine world. A month later, Shang Guanqi met with Lin Shun. Lin Shun was surprised. Participate in the Blood Fox Mountain operation? Shang Guanqi said, yes, sister personally asked you to go. As long as you can survive, you will win. Good luck. This is a cruel competition. Before leaving, Shang Guanqi looked back in confusion and muttered, I really don't know what my sister likes about this guy. At most, he's a genius. No matter how powerful he is, he's only at the 7th level of the Saint Realm. Back at his residence, Lin Shin smiled slightly. It seems that woman wants to use this operation to test my strength. She has at least predicted the 5th level. Unfortunately, Lin Shin smiled as coquettishly as ever. It's a pity that I've predicted your prediction. My basic cultivation base has been restored to 70%. It is easy to hide my cultivation base. It is not so easy for you to find out. I know your strength, but it is difficult for you to know mine. The more you want me to make a move, the deeper I have to hide. Chapter 1877. In a month's time, Lin Shin had a more comprehensive understanding of the God Realm. The human territory of the God Realm was divided into 5 continents. Each continent was extremely vast, with many sects and gods gathered. And to establish a sect, at least 2 true gods were needed in the sect, and it had to last for 1,000 years to be called an eternal sect. However, ordinary true gods were only low-level gods. Those who could be called true gods were gods who controlled the laws of the Great Tao. The laws of the Great Tao, the truth of the true gods, and everything in the world belonged to the gods. In the God Realm, high-level cultivation techniques and mental cultivation methods did not determine everything, but the strength and number of laws. The next day, in the front yard of the Shangwan residence, the tiger-eyed man in black armor, Shangwan Xiao, looked around and shouted, This Blood Fox Mountain operation is the preparation of the Shangwan residents for 100 years. It concerns the honor and disgrace of the Shangwan residents. Even if we die, we must kill one of them. Kill one to break even. Kill 2 to make a profit. Yes, the 4 quasi-gods of the Shangwan residents and 12 reincarnation saints obeyed the order. Wait a moment. Made Xiao and appeared with Lin Shun. According to Mrs. Orders, we must bring this Prince Lin Shun with us. 7th level Sage Realm? Maid Shaolin, where did you find this servant? Shangwan Xiao was stunned and even suspected that he had seen wrongly. Taking a closer look, he really had seen wrongly. Wasn't this a handyman? Was this a F***king 3-dimensional human? This was even more ridiculous than a servant. A beautiful lady with a quasi-god cultivation base giggled and said, What a handsome young master. A trace of doubt flashed through the beautiful woman's eyes. Lin Chen's eyes surged with a faint light. After staring at the beauty, he smiled casually. Sister is not bad either. You have a fierce weapon on you. It was indeed a fierce weapon, the serious kind. 7th level Sage Realm of a 3-dimensional human? Maid Shaolin, are you kidding me? Shangwan Xiao did not even look at Lin Shun. His aura fluctuated, and the pressure of a late-stage quasi-god was faintly released. He sneered. What did you say? Miss wants me to bring him? Even if you want to be a coolie, you should at least bring along a Saint King. The maidservant, Shaolin, did not dare to disobey him. There is a huge difference between the human clan of the enlightened Sky Continent and the experts who had gone through many battles in the outside world. Shangguan Xiao shouted coldly. This trip is very dangerous. Maidservant Xiao, and don't think that you are the maidservant favored by Miss, a melodious voice rang out. I was the one who asked you to bring him here. Is there a problem? Shangguan Qi was dressed in a blue-white palace dress, surrounded by divine light. Her red eyebrows were curved, and the corners of her lips were lifted. She looked like a goddess who had walked out of the divine palace. She glanced at everyone present. Shangguan Xiao and the others immediately cupped their fists and said, "Greetings, seventh young mistress." Shang Guanqi said indifferently, "Are you going to question what I want to do?" Shangguan Xiao broke out in cold sweat and knelt on one knee. "I dare not." Although he was at the late stage of quasi-god and had a higher possibility of becoming a real god, Shang Guanqi was the daughter of the Shangguan family and had countless resources. He was far from being comparable to her in terms of strength and status. Even if he became a real god, he could not be compared to Miss Shang Guanqi. If he offended her, he would not be able to stay in the Shangguan family anymore. Shang Guanqi glanced at Lin Shun. "Today, you will travel with us. You just have to survive." Lin Shun chuckled, "Surviving? It's so difficult. Miss Shangguan, please bring me along to act cool and fly with me. I'm just a silly boy at the 7th level of the saint stage. Other than being handsome, I'm tough. I'm not handsome and have nothing good about me." Swoosh! A divine light shot out, and Shangguan Yin appeared. Today, her hair was tied up with red tassels, and she was wearing azure armor. She looked awe-inspiring. When she saw Lin Shun again, Shangguan Yin showed an extremely rare expression. The corners of her lips curled up slightly, as if she had discovered something new. Sure enough, after more than a month of training, this man's fangs had not lost their sharpness. Instead, they had become sharper. Shangguan Yin did not say anything and waved her hand. "Let's go." A grand desolation divine fox had once perished at Mount Blood Fox. The divine fox was an extremely powerful divine beast that wielded multiple elemental divine powers. When it was alive, it had even grasped multiple grand owl laws. A single law was enough to annihilate the world. After the supreme desolation divine fox died, it turned into Blood Fox Mountain, which was covered by the energy tide all day long. However, there would be a short period of time when the energy tide would recede by more than half. Entering the heavenly lake in Blood Fox Mountain to be baptized, one would obtain the miraculous effect of condensing divine powers. This was extremely beneficial for quasi-gods and divine realm first-layer cultivators. Even if they only absorbed the energy in the heavenly lake at the periphery, it would allow reincarnation, sacred realm, and quasi-gods to grow rapidly. Therefore, in the past, when the energy tide receded on Blood Fox Mountain, it would attract a large number of experts and divine beasts to enter. Outside the enlightened sky continent, the Lingyun mountain range of the star continent was surrounded by clouds and mist. An endless blood-red mountain shot up into the sky. When the blood-red mist surrounded it, it exuded boundless divine powers as if it was going to suppress true gods. Clang! An azure sword condensed from divine powers appeared in the sky, just as Shangguan Qi arrived with the people from the Shangguan residence. Rumble! A huge flaming tiger appeared in the sky with a group of people on its back. Shangguan Xiao said solemnly, "Young miss, they are from the divine tiger sect." Shangguan Qi nodded calmly, while Shangguan Yin was expressionless and cold. It was as if nothing could stir up waves in her heart. The red-haired man on top of the huge flaming tiger looked down at the people from the Shangguan residence and snorted coldly. "It's this woman again." The people on both sides stepped into the air and released a faint divine aura, which intimidated the opponents to a certain extent. Another 2 rays of divine light appeared, and 2 groups of people descended. They were led by true gods again. Lin Shin stood on top of the azure sword and looked around playfully. "Good fellow, they are all ruthless people. Most of them are late first-layer true gods. They are not inferior to the few veteran demon emperors in the divine river galaxy. Some of them are even complete first-layer true gods. They are comparable to the heaven-burying demon emperor. They have a lot of attribute light balls on them. It was a pity that Lin Shen's stealing omen could not be activated. After coming to the four-dimensional divine world, some of his talents could no longer be used. For example, shifting shadows, super space-time plane, destructive explosion, destructive destruction, super chaos, super-dimensional teleportation, and other talents could no longer be used in the four-dimensional divine world. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. A spinning millstone tornado, formed purely out of divine power, came raging toward them. There was a group of young people sitting on top of the tornado, and there was a drunk young man leading them. He was a true god. At this moment, the drunk young man stared in the direction of the Shangwan residence and whistled. Sister Shangwan Qi, long time no see. You have become prettier. Shangwan Qi's expression froze, and she did not answer him. Suddenly, the drunk young man found a blind spot and looked at the Shangwan residence's team in shock. Oh my, am I drunk? Or is the Shangwan residence drunk? You actually brought a seventh-layer true god over? As soon as he said that, all the gods looked at the Shangwan residence's team. Seventh-layer true god? They are so wild. The Shangwan residence is looking down on us. They brought a seventh-layer true god with them to the Blood Fox Mountain. They are really carefree. The people from the Shangwan residence are really tough recently. How many worries can a gentleman have? Coincidentally, they are at the seventh-layer true god. The people from the Shangwan residence are really fierce. All the true gods sneered. Some even laughed and recited poems. They were so angry that they laughed. It was as if you were going to a dangerous place where it would be difficult to protect yourself, and you actually brought a useless burden along. Why did you bring him along? To be a mascot? The Shangwan family's actions clearly showed that they were looking down on everyone present. Feeling the burning gazes, Lin Chun pretended to be frightened. The beautiful lady beside him said with pity, "Don't be afraid. Come over and let sister hug you." Woo-woo, they are really scary. I won't die, right? Just as Lin Shan was about to bury himself in the waves, suddenly, Shangwan Yun, who had been cold and indifferent, pointed at Lin Shan and said coldly, "This man is my sister Shangwan Qi's future fiancé. He is a genius chosen by the Shangwan residents." At this moment, everyone was silent. Shangwan Qi was stunned at first. Then, she slowly became dumbfounded and stood there in a daze. Meow, meow, meow. What is sister saying? Why can't I understand a single word? Even Lin Chuan looked at Shangwan Yun as if he had seen a ghost and muttered to himself in shock. There is such a thing? Chapter 1878. Not to mention the various forces present, even the people from the Shangwan family were dumbfounded. Shangwan Qi's almond-shaped eyes were wide open as she looked at her sister in disbelief. Lin Chun suddenly said to Shangwan Qi, "Is your sister really your biological sister?" Shangwan Yun said with a serious expression, "This man is a rare genius of the Shangwan family. In the future, he has the potential to become a god through body refinement, primordial spirit, and cultivation." Lin Chun was dumbfounded. What the hell? Are you a F** King Prophet? How many levels did she predict me? Did this woman predict the atmospheric layer? Lin Chun said, "Wow, I'm so F** King awesome. Did I just get blown up by someone?" Who would have thought that Shangwan Yin would not stop until she said something shocking? This man looks like a true god, but his divine light is restrained. He is elegant, charming, and has countless trump cards. He has the means to threaten a true god at the 7th level sage realm. It was the Shangwan family that went through all kinds of hardships to let him marry into the Shangwan family. Lin Chun. What? Why did she peek at the script? Listen, is this something that a human can say? Lin Chun really wanted to walk over and search her body from head to toe, not letting go of a single seam until he found the script. Lin Chun couldn't help but think to himself, "System, where did she buy the script? Why don't I have it?" Heavenly Tao Character Collecting System. Shangwan Qi was anxious. "Sister, Shang Yin gave her a look, signaling her not to speak. She glanced at Lin Chen again, then looked around and said indifferently, "Don't underestimate him. You will lose miserably." After that, the whole place was still silent. Ha ha ha. I'm convinced. With Miss Shangguan Qi's talent, she found a 7th-level Sage Realm cultivator to be her fiancé. What kind of taste does the Shangguan family have? I'm convinced too. Shangguan Yun, even if you want to find a shield for your sister, you should find a decent one, right? A 7th-level Sage Realm cultivator can threaten a true god? Shangguan Yun, don't tell me you're writing a novel? All the powerhouses were either holding their stomachs or shaking their heads with ridicule. Miss Shangguan Qi from the Shangguan family was talented. She was a Saint King in 10 years, stepped into the reincarnation Saint realm in 100 years, and became a god in less than 1,000 years. In terms of talent, she was one of the top talents in the Northwest region, not to mention the Star State. It wouldn't be too much for such a person to marry into a force that was 1 or 2 levels stronger than the Shangguan family. The young Shangguan Yun's eyes sobered up Shangguan Yun. Shangguan Yun, you know that I'm interested in Qi. You don't have to use this method to anger me. Choosing this kind of trash as a shield, are you trying to humiliate my Lian clan? Then he looked at Shangguan Qi. Or is it true? Qia? Shangguan Qi was a little flustered and quickly waved her hand. No, brother Qingyu. Shangguan Yin stopped her. To her, her sister's orders were absolute and could not be disobeyed. Shangguan Qi, who had nowhere to vent her anger, could only stare at Lin Chen with resentment. Lin Chen spread out his hands, as if it had nothing to do with him. Everyone from the Shangguan family was dumbfounded. They didn't understand what they were doing, because their cultivation was not high enough. They didn't even understand why this guy was so disrespectful to the 2 ladies of the Shangguan family. Was he really the son-in-law of the Shangguan family? That was too ridiculous. Lian Qingyu was so angry that he laughed. Good Shangguan family. His eyes were about to spit fire, and his power soared. Terrifying wind pressure burst out from his body, crushing the mountains and rivers. His power was vaguely aimed at Lin Chen. Lian Qingyu stared at Lin Chen and said sarcastically, "I hope you won't let me down. You're the fiancé of the Shangguan family." Lin Chen's mouth twitched slightly. When he turned to look at Shangguan Yun, he couldn't help but sigh. What a ruthless person. In order to test Lin Chen's background, this woman even sold her sister's reputation. Was this a woman who had survived the 9-fold realm sea? She was really outstanding. He rarely met a match in his life. Today, he finally met one. This was a woman who could brag more than him. Lin Chen walked to her side and said seriously, "Miss Shangguan Yin, what were you talking about just now? I didn't understand at all. Is it really necessary?" Shangguan Yin said indifferently, "It doesn't matter if you don't understand, because hesitation will lead to failure." Lin Chen said, "But being decisive will lead to nothing." Shangguan Yin said coldly, "That depends on what you get in return." Lin Chen couldn't help but applaud for her. She was too outstanding. In this wave, she made a preemptive strike for Lin Chen. No matter what the reason was, as long as they entered Blood Fox Mountain, Lin Chen would become the target of public criticism. There were those who looked down on Lin Chen, those who were jealous of Lin Chen, those who were curious about Lin Chen, and those who wanted to test Lin Chen's depth. In this way, it would be difficult for Lin Chen to not make a move. When the time came, how many trump cards would be exposed? Wouldn't it be arranged clearly for you? Is this real or fake? My family's big watchdog seems to be above 7th level Sage Realm, right? There's a basic rule for bragging. This belongs to the category of bragging. When we enter Blood Fox Mountain later, we'll know with a try. 7th level Sage Realm. No matter what trump cards he has, this young master can destroy him in one move. Many young talents who had gathered here with their true gods either sneered or were disdainful. But their goal was the same, and that was Lin Chen. Lin Chen rubbed his nose. This sister's move is really ruthless. If it wasn't for the fact that she saved my life, I'm afraid I would have run away directly. The people of the divine world are indeed not ordinary people. Lin Shun looked at Shangguan Yun, who was waiting for the energy tide to disperse. She was calm, and her cold eyes were especially deep, as if no one could see through her thoughts. She exuded an aura that was completely different from the other true gods present. In this round, it could be said that Shangguan Yun had gained the upper hand. However, it might not be the case in the next round. Swish! The sound of wind whistling rang out, and another group of people appeared. The person in the lead was as vast as the sea. She was elegant and beautiful, and her elegant blue palace dress was like floating clouds. She had beautiful eyebrows and a beautiful head. Her wrist was white as snow, and there was a pitch-black sword hanging on her slender waist. When this woman appeared, other than Shangguan Yun, all the true gods showed fear and dread at the same time. Why is this crazy woman here too? Didn't she go to participate in the Alchemy Association to refine her divine pills? How could she get involved in this? The true gods were talking to each other through voice transmission. The woman in the blue palace dress said indifferently, "Today, the Yu family wants one of the blood pools on Blood Fox Mountain. I've finished speaking. Who agrees and who disagrees?" She transmitted her voice in all directions, and the true gods' mouths twitched slightly. However, no one dared to speak. Lin Shin's eyes lit up, and he clicked his tongue in wonder. This woman's background was probably not simple. She was covered in the light of elemental light balls. At this moment, the woman transmitted her voice again. "Very good. Since no one spoke, that means no one disagrees. If anyone dares to reach the blood pool in front of me later." She smiled slightly, patted the sword on her waist, and released a brilliant sword intent with a murderous aura. "I'll make your heads explode." The disciples of more than a dozen ancient sects could not help but change their expressions slightly. This woman was so domineering. "Lin Shun, be careful of this woman." At this moment, Fairy Scarlet's voice came from Lin Shin's Providence plant pouch. Lin Shin's heart skipped a beat. "Be careful of this woman?" Chapter 1879. Scarlet Fairy had followed Lin Shun to the Celestial Realm. She was originally a spiritual plant that had escaped from the Celestial Realm. After arriving in the Celestial Realm, her understanding of the Celestial Realm had helped Lin Shun avoid many detours in the beginning, such as how to adapt to the four-dimensional Celestial Realm and the distribution of forces in the Celestial Realm. Even when they met Shangguan Yun, Scarlet Fairy did not ask Lin Shun to be careful. She was only wary of this woman. Lin Shun replied with his primordial spirit, "Okay, I will be careful." Scarlet Fairy's voice came again. "I have prepared the divine jade fragments for you. If you consume too much in battle, use the divine jade to restore your saint power." The Celestial Realm's saints used golden saint origin coins, while the currency circulating among the true gods was divine jade that could be absorbed and refined into the body. Divine jade was divided into substandard, medium, high, and supreme grade. Moreover, divine jade could only be produced by supreme grade spiritual plants, and the quantity was extremely small. Only divine grade spiritual plants could produce divine jade on a large scale. Divine grade spiritual plants were 1 in a million. Ordinary low-level true gods used divine jade fragments. Even complete, substandard divine jade fragments were extremely valuable and could even help a quasi-god break through to the true god realm at a critical moment. Scarlet Fairy was a supreme grade spiritual plant that had escaped from the celestial realm to the celestial realm. However, there was a limit to spiritual plants, and that was the resources they produced would be proportional to the luck of the universe they were in. In the past, Scarlet Fairy could not produce divine jade fragments because she was in the three-dimensional universe. Now that she had returned to the celestial realm, the power of a supreme grade spiritual plant began to show. Lin Shun was surprised. Isn't it said that saints can't absorb divine jade fragments? At least the level of a quasi-god, right? Scarlet Fairy smiled and said, "The energy of divine jade fragments is indeed too great for a saint, but since when can you calculate it with common sense? Lin Shen was stunned and laughed in his heart. That's right. Not many saints could be comparable to the early first level of a true god in the celestial realm. During this period of waiting, Shangwan Qi glared at Lin Shen with murderous eyes. She had a good impression of Lin Shen, the true god of the Lin family, and both of them had a good relationship with each other. However, her sister had used Lin Shen to put up a good show, and the misunderstanding between the two had deepened. The two sides waited for less than 4 hours. Boom, boom, boom. The tidal power of Blood Fox Mountain started to subside, and all the real gods present were ready for battle. Set off. Almost at the same time, when most of the energy in Blood Fox Mountain had dissipated, the energy in the blood fog dissipated, and the gods set off with their own troops. Powerhouses from all walks of life were unwilling to fall behind. They all rushed into Blood Fox Mountain. After entering the Blood Fox Mountain, one could not fly too high. Otherwise, if one fell into the blood fog tide, even a true god would not be able to easily escape. Shangwan Yun said coldly, "Let's go." The Shangwan family's troops swarmed in. At the same time, Lin Chen's eyes flashed with a wisp of Yuan's spirit light. While everyone was moving and no one was paying attention to him, he quietly condensed a ray of primordial spirit light at his fingertip and shot it to the foot of the mountain. His method was obscure and could fool most people, but it could not fool Shangwan Yun. Buzz! A group of people entered the blood tide and finally landed on the Blood Fox Mountain. Shangwan Yun narrowed her eyes and asked indifferently, "What did you shoot earlier?" Lin Chen spread his hands and said, "Didn't you see it? It's a white Yuan spirit light." Shangwan Yun said again, "Apart from that?" Lin Chen smiled mockingly and said, "Young Mistress Shangwan, do you want to know? Come to my room when you come back tonight, and I'll tell you." Shangwan Yun's gaze became cold and sharp, as if she wanted to pierce through all the secrets on Lin Shen. However, apart from his pure strength that was comparable to that of a quasi-god's, she did not discover anything else. The more it was like this, the more Shangwan Yun felt that this man was not simple. Shangwan Yun retracted her gaze. Spread out the formation and search for the enemy with the two-wing team. Shangwan Qi and Shangwan Xiao stepped out from the left and right respectively and rushed to the front with their respective troops. Shangwan Yun was at the center and commanded the entire team. Lin Shen and that beautiful lady, Shangwan Xiao, were assigned to the left team. Roar! A roar tore through the clouds, and a pitch-black python appeared out of nowhere. It broke the clouds and suddenly appeared, diving straight down. The Shangwan team did not panic and faced it calmly. It's a sacred beast of reincarnation, the dark abyss sky demon python. Shangwan Xiao focused her eyes and drew her sword to fight. She waved a sword aura with the shape of a dragon and twisted it. Chi, chi, bang, bang. The sword aura of a late-stage quasi-god tore through the scales and layers of defense of the sky demon python. It screamed in pain. Blood Fox Mountain was shrouded in fog, and even powerful sacred beasts could not explore too far. The sky demon python wanted to finish off its opponent, but it did not expect to provoke such a powerful being. The sky demon python was injured. It tilted its body and attacked Lin Shen. Shangwan Yun focused her gaze on Lin Shen. Wow, what a big and thick black python. However, Lin Shen was shocked. He jumped up and down and ran all the way to the back of the beautiful lady. The beautiful lady's palm was shrouded in blue light. She turned her palm, and the blue light turned into a palm and pierced through the injured sky demon python. She walked over and picked up the sacred beast core of the sky demon python. Lin Chen hid behind her with admiration. This sister is so powerful. Please protect me. Please carry me. The confusion in the beautiful lady's eyes disappeared. She smiled and said, "Then hide behind me and try your best to survive." Lin Chen smiled like an honest child. "Okay, I love to hide behind you." Shangwan Yin was speechless. Boom! Another 4 giant creatures broke into the left side of the team. They were 3 sky key wolf kings and a quasi-god bug tribe, moon-swallowing butterfly. Lin Shen looked at the oddly shaped beasts and insects above his head and clicked his tongue in wonder. The left side of the team was blocked again. However, there were 4 quasi-gods, and the high-level bugs and beasts were not stupid. They would retreat immediately after they realized that they could not win the battle. The team speed was smooth all the way. For 2 days and 2 nights, the team advanced according to the predetermined route and avoided many blood mists. Ha ha, we are so lucky. There are fewer and fewer sacred beasts along the way. Maybe they are intimidated by the auras of the 2 ladies in our team. Everyone in the Shangwan residence was overjoyed and laughed. The speed of the team's advancement was surprisingly smooth. The enemies that they expected to deal with did not appear at all. While everyone in the team was excited, only Lin Shun was calm, low-key, obedient, and smiling. Host received 90 million high-level sacred health points, 2,000 sacred talent points, 5,400 rune energy points. Lin Shun clearly did not do anything, but his attributes started to soar wildly. Only Shangwan Yun's eyes were deep and confused. She had always wanted to use external means to test Lin Chen's strength. However, this guy had been running away with his physical strength for the past few days. He did not show any combat power. Could it be that her prediction was wrong? Does this brat really have nothing but the power of his flesh? What surprised Shangwan Yun even more was that no one came. According to the speed of the dozen or so teams, the higher they went, the higher the probability of them encountering each other and the more powerful sacred beasts they would encounter. But why had they not encountered a single team until now? Even the number of enemies encountering the beasts was greatly reduced. This was too abnormal. Could it be him? Shangwan Yin looked at Lin Shun on the left side of the team. Lin Shun saw her looking over and was puzzled at first. Then, his expression changed slightly. He hurriedly said, "Let me say this first. I will not marry Tu. I am not a casual person." Shangwan Yun. Shangwan Qi asked, "Sister, can I kill him?" The blue-robed, true god's eyes froze, a look of disbelief and shock appearing on his face. A Saint Realm cultivator actually withstood my attack. There must be a huge secret on this person's body. That person seemed to be minding his own business. Not bad. After my main body familiarized itself with the 4th dimension, it would always be the fastest way to familiarize itself with the 4th dimension. My combat power has recovered close to 90%. Boom! The wind howled as 8 war spears, shimmering with azure divine light, hovered behind the blue-robed true god. They were all war spears formed from divine energy. This was a high-grade orange-tier battle technique, and when executed by a true god, its divine might could suppress the world. The many quasi-gods and reincarnation saints behind him immediately surrounded the enemy. The blue-robed true god coldly shouted, "Brat, based on your methods, your background must not be small. Tell me your name. Who are you? How dare you block the path of my bright deity sect?" The black-robed person held his sword and pointed it at the blue-robed true god, sneering. A dark horse fighting on behalf of others. I dare to fight anyone. Boom. The black-robed person held his sword and slashed violently. His sword aura was everywhere. Facing the entire team, he was fearless and attacked again. The blue-robed true god's eyes blazed with anger as he roared. "You're looking down on me too much." A saint actually dared to challenge the entire bright deity sect team. 1 level, 1 true god, 3 quasi-gods, and 10 reincarnation saints? The blue-robed true god held his spear, and the azure divine spear released brilliant divine might, turning into a sharp edge that pierced and pierced as it violently charged forward. Inside Blood Fox Mountain, the Shangwan Manor's team entered a place close to the blood pool. When a vast basin appeared, the majestic and intense energy was like a giant dragon dancing in the air. The river converged like the sea. From afar, it looked like a sea of clouds was surging. Shangguan Shao was moved. We've arrived. It's 2 days earlier than expected. Yes, all thanks to the protection of the 2 young misses. The saint beasts and opponents we encountered along the way are not worth mentioning at all. The quality of the condensed energy blood pool here is extremely good. It's orange red and has the highest purity recorded in ancient records. Ah, we've come too early. The blood mist here hasn't even dissipated yet. We still have to wait for some time for the blood mist to recede before we can enter. Everyone from Shangguan residence was ecstatic. They had arrived twice as early as expected. Shangguan Qi led the team into the blood pool closest to the blood pool, while her sister, Shangguan Yin, looked around and Lin Shun received 90 million high-tier Saint Essence, 30 million high-tier Saint Blood, 10,000 high-tier Saint Spiritual Power, 500 high-tier Saint Rune Energy. Received 1020 high-tier Saint Rune Energy, 400 high-tier Saint Rune Energy, 300 high-tier Saint Rune Energy. Lin Shin couldn't help but sigh. He was in the divine world, yet he had lost contact with them. Many generations of young, true gods had fought in Blood Fox Mountain before, so the dropped attribute values were obvious. Lin Shin's loot along the way was more abundant than during the battle at the sacred boundary. Shangguan Yin saw Lin Shin touching and grabbing around as if he had never seen the world. It was completely in line with the expression of a 3-dimensional human who had just arrived in the divine world. Shangguan Yin shook her head. It seems that I've misjudged him. Other than the physical strength of a quasi-god, there's nothing special about him. She had wanted to use external forces to force him to fight, but after this period of observation, it seemed that he had no other strong points other than brute force. It was much harder for the human race to refine their bodies than the beast race, dragon race, demon race, and other races that were born with tyrannical life force. Even if he had the pure strength of a quasi-god, to become a god by refining his body, he would need a lot of time and accumulation. If Lin Shin only had this much, then she, Shangguan Yun, had completely misjudged him. Sister, Shangguan Qi looked at Shangguan Yin. Why did you say that he was my fiancé that day? You knew that young Master Qingyu, Shangguan Yin said indifferently. I know what Lin Qingyu means to you. You can do whatever you want after this matter is over. But remember, when you give your future to others, you're no different from being dead. Shangguan Qi raised her slender eyebrows slightly and said thoughtfully, Yes, sister. Boom. At this moment, the fog dispersed, and terrifying divine power shot up into the sky. Terrifying explosions reverberated from many directions. The group of people from the Shangguan residence immediately activated their cultivation techniques and released their divine power, ready to fight. As expected of the Shangguan residence's 6th Miss, Shangguan Yin, you're faster than we expected. I really don't know what method you used to reach here at such a fast speed. When teams led by true gods appeared, everyone from the Shangguan residence was shocked. They came with ill intentions. There were actually 5 teams, 5 true gods overseeing. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. These true gods are all ruthless. They have a lot of attribute lights. Chapter 1881. On the left was a beautiful woman with a quasi-divine whip hanging from her slender waist. Her LV1 True God Realm aura was suppressing the Shangguan family's team. On the right, the black-armored man with a giant axe on his back stared at Shangguan Yun with his snake-like eyes. It was as if he wanted to see through this true god who was the leader of the younger generation in the Shangguan residence. He wanted to see through her. Behind them was Lin Qingyu from the Lin family. 5 teams representing 5 true gods formed an encirclement, cutting off the Shangguan family's escape route. At the very front, a huge beast appeared from the 5-colored clouds. One of the teams had a huge 5-colored heavenly bull lined up side by side, carrying a golden-robed young man. His face was filled with the aura of an emperor who ruled over the world, and his aura was awe-inspiring. It's the fifth prince of the Tai divine kingdom. He's here too. The Shangguan family's team looked solemn. Shangguan Yin stepped out from the team and floated in the air. Prince of the Tai divine kingdom, you want to challenge the Shangguan family? The fifth prince laughed. Challenge? I'm not interested in doing this. What I want is all of you. Lien Xingyu said sternly, his usual drunken appearance gone. Leave that guy and be my woman. I'll guarantee you a safe trip to the blood pool of Mount Bloodfox. The elders of my family have already confirmed me as the next patriarch. The Lien family is still under my control. If you look back, I'll still be waiting for you. Lin Chen exclaimed, You're such a bootlicker. I didn't expect there to be so many bootlickers in the divine world. This is the first time I've seen such a refreshing bootlicker. Before Shangguan Qi could answer, her sister Shangguan Yun sneered. So what if my sister agrees? Do you think you'll help the Shangguan family in this situation? Lien Xingyu said coldly. I'm not interested in the Shangguan family's dogs and cats. But you, Lien Xingyu glanced at Lin Shun and sneered. I'll make you regret coming to the divine world. Boom, boom, boom. The 13 young talents of the Lien clan instantly surrounded Lin Shen's position. The fifth prince waved his hand and smiled evilly. Eliminate them. Their quotas for the blood pool will be divided among you. The other divine sex teams were instantly filled with fighting spirit. Boom! Divine power soared into the sky. Lightning surged, and balls of divine wind appeared. As the long whip danced, they wreaked havoc like tornadoes. The sea of fire spread in all directions. Divine flames descended one after another, and a 1,000-foot-long storm of sword chi sliced through the void. The power of the four true gods, including Lien Xingyu, was earth-shattering. They led their own men to attack the people of the Shangguan family. Let's attack together. Without a word, Shangguan Yin rushed to the front, with Shangguan Qi following closely behind. Divine light burst out from the glabella of the two sisters, and they raised their palms towards the sky. The divine seals that were burning with divine flames suddenly pressed down in all directions. The fifth prince was rather interested. Truly worthy of being a woman who made it through a realm sea. You have a bit of skill. This prince will take you on. The fifth prince's head rose into the sky, and a divine jade seal that was enshrouded with thousands of mountains and rivers and 10,000 bright moons appeared out of thin air. Lin Chen's eyes lit up. This item was second only to a divine artifact, and it was also a quasi-divine artifact. The fifth prince pointed his finger, and the divine seals that erupted from the jade seal suddenly pressed down on the two sisters. The battle of gods was about to start. When God Realm experts worked together, their battle strength far exceeded the effect of 1+1. In the battle, the fifth prince's eyes flashed, and he said, This woman is truly powerful. Her cultivation has actually reached the second stage of the God Realm. Shangguan Yun relied on her cultivation at the second stage of the God Realm and cooperated with her sister to block the 5 true gods. However, the Shangguan family members were the ones in a miserable state. They had to face 5 teams of powerful enemies, and each of them had to challenge 2 or 3 experts of the same level. They were in an extremely difficult situation. If the Blood Fox Mountain's blood pool opened, they could still enter the range of the blood pool. After the Blood Fox Mountain's blood pool opened, true gods were forbidden from fighting. This was because the riot and chaos of divine power would cause the blood pool's energy to riot. At that time, they could only soak in it and absorb it. However, the Shangguan family came too early. Before the blood pool opened, they were surrounded and attacked instead. Chi, a sword light, slashed toward Lin Shun. Lin Shun tilted his body and used pure strength to dodge. He pretended to be shocked and said, F***CK, what a fast sword. She could have cut my hair. A young quasi-god from the Lien family couldn't help but sneer. Miss Shangguan Yin, didn't you say that you could threaten true gods? Can't you show off your skills? Another two reincarnation Saint Realm experts leaped into the air and swung their ninth-grade holy hammers down. Powerful and domineering winds tore through the air and smashed down on Lin Chen's head fiercely. Lin Chen dodged by a hair's breadth. He shouted, "Young man, don't talk about martial ethics. So many of you are attacking me, bullying a weakling at the 7th stage of the Saint Realm. Doesn't your conscience hurt?" A few handsome young men sneered and said, "The fiancé of the Shangwan family is only at this level." I have to say, he could be considered a freak to be able to dodge our attacks as a 7th stage Saint Realm expert. It doesn't matter if he's a freak or a genius. Today, even if he's a beauty, we'll tear him to shreds. More and more geniuses from the divine sect joined the battle against Lin Chun. Lin Chun sighed. It's really a case of a man sitting in a mine, a pot falling from the sky. Outside the chaotic battle, Miss, they've started fighting. The little girl in white hugged her scabbard and asked the lady in blue beside her curiously, "Aren't we going to join the battle? Doesn't Miss like to train herself through battles?" The lady in blue stroked her hair, her brows filled with disdain. "It's true that I like to fight, but these third-rate trash aren't worthy of me taking action. As long as they don't break my rules. No matter how they fight, Before she could finish speaking, the lady in blue narrowed her eyes. 7th stage, Saint Realm? This person has the scent of the dragon race. Also, could it be? She stared at a certain figure in the chaotic battle, as if she wanted to see through him. Shangwan Yun, who was in the middle of the chaotic battle, was puzzled. What's wrong? Shangwan Yun roamed the realm sea and had seen all kinds of storms. The Divine Nation's 5th prince should be very clear that this team would have to pay a painful price if they wanted to take down the Shangwan residents. Why did they insist on starting the battle? If they wanted to divide the Shangwan residents' quota, they had to have the confidence to do so. Where did their confidence come from? Almost in the blink of an eye, when Shangwan Yun was deep in thought, a bolt of lightning appeared out of nowhere. The beautiful lady who had been protecting Lin Chun earlier suddenly appeared behind Shangwan Yun as her slender body swayed. She flickered with divine lightning that seemed to pass through the void at lightning speed. The beautiful lady Shangwan Ying's cultivation wasn't that of a quasi-god, but a first-stage true god. Violent and domineering lightning attribute divine power surged between her blades, as if drawing in the power of heavenly punishment from the 9th heaven. She suddenly stabbed at Shangwan Yun and Shangwan Qi at close range. The tip of the blade was filled with blue frost poison. It was the heavenly solitary frost poison that could freeze even the blood of a true god. At this moment, the situation of the battle changed drastically. A true god's sudden sneak attack was enough to change the situation of the battle. Shangwan Xiao, who witnessed this moment, instantly understood the situation, and her face turned pale. It's over. An enemy had infiltrated the Shangwan residence. It was a traitor. The people chosen by the Shangwan residents this time were all people who had joined the Shangwan residents 100 years ago or were related by blood. They were completely trustworthy people. In other words, this Shangwan Ying had infiltrated the Shangwan residence for hundreds of years. She stabbed the Shangwan sisters viciously. The two girls, who'd been deeply besieged, were caught off guard by this sneak attack. Moreover, it was their own people who had betrayed them. When Shangwan Ying approached them, they did not notice at all. Boom! Bang! The blade was like a lightning dragon, piercing through the void fiercely. When the lightning flashed, everyone in the Shangwan residence was horrified. The Divine Nation's 5th prince laughed and said, "I've planned for 100 years for this moment. I'll definitely kill the Shangwan residence's women." Lien Qingyu frowned and said, "Must you use this method?" The 5th prince glanced at him and said, "Otherwise, if it weren't for my plan, do you think you could take these two women away without getting hurt?" When the lightning dissipated, the 5th prince held the pearl of wisdom in his hand as if he was in control of everything. When he looked at them, everything stopped abruptly. The expected situation of the two women being injured did not happen. His silver robe fluttered, and a tall and handsome figure stood behind the two women. His hands were wrapped with indestructible golden holy power, and he held the tip of Shangguan Ying's blade tightly. Shangguan Ying looked at the young man in front of her, and her red lips opened slightly. "What? How could you?" Lin Chun, who was holding the tip of the blade, raised his eyebrows and said with a playful smile, "Why can't I?" The pupils of the Shangguan residents shrank. He caught the divine blade with his bare hands. The Shangguan sisters' almond-shaped eyes widened, and their pretty faces were full of shock. Lin Chun smiled coolly. "You saved me once, and I saved you once. After this, we're even. I gave you a chance, but you didn't use it. I already said in advance that this woman has a weapon, but you didn't believe me. Do you really think that I'm an old pervert who only looks at breasts and legs? If you think otherwise, please apologize to my brother Chun." Chapter 1882. Catching the sword with his bare hands. Looking at Lin Chun, who was in midair, the genius disciples of the divine sect looked as if they had seen a ghost. Is he even human? Not just them. Even the 5 true gods who were besieging the Shangguan sisters were stunned. The previous move was Shangguan Ying's full-strength attack as a level 1 true god. Under the situation of being suddenly ambushed, even a second-level true god, realm martial artist, would be caught off guard and injured. The most monstrous thing was, he was only a sage realm cultivator. Compared to a true god, even the most powerful sage realm cultivator was like an ant to an elephant. Who had ever seen an ant catch an elephant's foot when it stomped down? Chi! Rumble! The strong wind was like a blade. Lin Chen's leg whipped out like a tornado, bringing with it a rolling divine shadow that swept out like a demon. The terrifying force woke Shangguan Ying up in a split second. She crossed her 2 swords in front of her body. Sword Chi protected her body and thundered. Bang! Lightning surged, transforming into countless lightning arcs that swam around like lightning shadows. After sending Shangguan Ying flying with a kick, Lin Chun once again showed his strength in the most powerful manner. His saint power cultivation could really shake a true god. Everyone in the Shangguan residence stared at Lin Chun as if they had seen a monster. What the 6th Miss said was actually true. From the moment Lin Chun appeared and joined the team, Shangguan Ying had been paying attention to Lin Chun in order to prevent any accidents. She even took the initiative to approach him and inquire about his background. During this period of time, when he had rushed up the Blood Fox Mountain, he had almost always relied on her to escape from any danger he encountered. He had even encountered a few life-threatening situations. Apart from the fact that he had a little bit of body refinement strength, there was nothing special about him. The beautiful woman took a few steps back. When she raised her eyebrows and looked at Lin Chun, she said in a trembling voice, "How can you have such strength? This is not the combat strength of sage. Since ancient times, sages and true gods have been 2 different species. The rules have never been broken." Lin Chun smiled and said, "I used to be the Best Actor award winner for 10 consecutive Audiobook awards. Isn't it easy to fool you with an act? As for the rules, they are meant to be broken. Experts of the divine world, as long as they were at the true god realm, the attribute light balls that appeared on their bodies would far surpass that of ordinary experts. No matter how good this beautiful woman's disguise was, she couldn't hide from Lin Chen's eyes that could see through her attributes. Shangguan Yun's beautiful eyes flickered with brilliance when she saw this scene, and her cold and beautiful face revealed a trace of a smile for the first time. "You finally revealed yourself." Her beautiful eyes flickered with surprise and shock. She had thought that Lin Chun might have some means to resist a true god, but she never thought that he could use his cultivation to fight a true god. It was just a casual remark, but it turned out to be true. The younger sister, Shangguan Yun, stared at her elder sister and Lin Chun. Her admiration for them was unparalleled. "Sister, you will always be a god." He had seen through so much, his understanding was broad, and his judgment was strong. He was simply a prophet. The corner of Lin Qingyu's mouth twitched as he said in disbelief, "A seventh-stage saint can threaten a true god?" Shang Yin was telling the truth. Qi Er's fiancé is so strong. The fifth prince stared at Lin Shun, his killing intent soaring to the sky. "I didn't think that the small Shangwan residence would have such a hidden dragon and crouching tiger, hiding such an extraordinary expert." Lin Shun, however, looked at Shangwan Yin. "How long do you want to hide? Even if you want to hide your strength, you don't have to hide it like this, right?" Shangwan Yun's expression changed. "You saw through it?" Lin Shun laughed mockingly. "Of course, I know your strength, but you don't know mine. This is the difference between you and me. Do you really think that I will let you test me so easily? I came to the divine world to show off, not to be an old pervert." Shangwan Yin shook her head and laughed. "I didn't think that you could predict this step. My cultivation technique needs to be reconstructed many times before I can improve further, so I can't use my full strength now. If I use it forcefully, my body will explode and I will die." Lin Shun clicked his tongue in wonder. The cultivation techniques of the divine world are really strange. At this time, the younger sister Shangwan Qi finally spoke. "Lin Shun, you have not fully integrated into the divine world. The rejection of the dimension will." Lin Shun waved his hand indifferently. "Small problem. I have already overcome it. The current me can use my full strength." The two sisters were moved again. He was already completely used to the divine world. They had seen with their own eyes how Lin Chun fainted due to the rejection of the dimension. From that day, at the explosive Dragon Mountain Range, until now, it had only been a few months since he came to the divine world. 2 months? No, it had only been a month. What kind of monster is this? Can the three-dimensional universe really give birth to such a monster? Lin Shen laughed. "Our debt is written off, and we will consider it a happy cooperation. You are a smart woman. You should know what I mean." Shangwan Yun's cold and beautiful side face raised a bright smile. "Then I wish us a happy cooperation in advance." Chi! An aurora turned into a light arrow and shot toward Lin Shun. It was Lin Qingyu. He did not believe this and was determined to test Lin Shun. Lin Shen's palm touched his waist, and a bright and dazzling flying knife flashed by, instantly splitting into 5. Bang! 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 When the holy power exploded, the knife flashed wildly, and the arrow exploded, reflecting Lin Qingyu's embarrassed expression as if he had eaten **T. Lin Shen's combat power was completely based on his cultivation. It was not mixed with any fake external force at all. Let's end the boring test here. Lin Shen's shoulders shook, and his holy power was fully released. 140 hexagonal stars were like bright stars in the sky, and their holy light illuminated the space. Lin Shun held his spear and stepped into the air, looking radiant. Won 140 holy points. Is his method so wild? What kind of cultivation technique is this? Damn, are we really using the same cultivation system? I've been in the divine world for many years, and I've never seen such a scene. The disciples of the various divine sects felt their scalps tingle. 140 holy points? Shangwan Yin pondered. No wonder I couldn't see through his cultivation before. It turns out that he hid his strongest holy power in other holy points. She increasingly felt that this young man was not simple. He was full of secrets. She could not wait to strip Lin Chen naked and see every single hair on his body. How much more was he hiding? Buzz, buzz, buzz. At this moment, ripples appeared in the space. Numerous landscape paintings transmitted an immortal domineering aura as they slowly flipped open, releasing the heavenly might of a divine nation, everlasting through the ages and indestructible in the 4th dimension. The 5th prince held the divine nation imperial jade seal, and the 5-color dragon aura above his head turned into a dragon robe. He stepped into the air, and dense dragon aura rose like a dancing dragon, majestic and shocking. He was like the emperor of the divine nation, personally leading an expedition. His eyes seemed to be shining with divine light as he looked down and shouted sternly, "Fellow true gods, which one of you isn't the overlord of a region? You control a region and command tens of thousands of saints. Could it be that you're going to be intimidated by this brat today?" The fifth prince's voice awakened the various true gods, and his words were filled with absolute boldness and confidence. The divine nation's emperor's heart technique could impart absolute boldness to the people, allowing them to rule the world for thousands of years. It was also applicable to the true gods and could increase their confidence and fighting spirit. Chapter 1883. Almost instantly, the fifth prince used his God Nation technique and stabilized the chaotic situation caused by Lin Chun. Shangguan Yin went to the imperial mausoleum in the First Realm Sea. She must know the secret of my God Nation. No matter what happens to her today, I will take her down. A cold glint flashed across the fifth prince's eyes. On the surface, he seemed to be lusting after Shangguan Yin's beauty and ambushing the Shangguan residents. In reality, he was indeed lusting after her body. At the same time, he could dig out the secret of the God Nation's ancestors from her. The fifth prince said coldly, "Hold these two women back. Leave this guy to my men." 4 true gods flashed past and surrounded the Shangguan sisters. The fifth prince held the God Nation Imperial Jade Seal and slammed it into the sky. Buzz! Boom! Boom! The 5-color divine light that erupted from his palm was entwined with layers of dragon chi. It turned into a dragon and soared into the sky, breaking through the blood fog. The fifth prince smiled evilly. "Everyone, I've already sent the message. According to the agreement, there will be 5 teams from the divine sex here to help you. Attack to your heart's content and take down the Shangguan residents. As long as you drag it out, suppressing them is only a matter of time." The expressions of the Shangguan residents' people changed. Shangguan Yin, who had always been calm and steady, frowned. She didn't expect the fifth prince of the Taichu divine kingdom to go to this extent, colluding with both internal and external forces to arrange her Shangguan residents to such a state. What was his intention? Once they were surrounded by more teams from the divine sex, even if Lin Chun had the ability to fight, however, after the 5-color dragon chi broke and soared into the sky, the surroundings were completely silent. The teams from the divine sex were bewildered. Where were they? Where were the reinforcements? Why was there no movement at all? There wasn't even a reply box. The fifth prince's gaze gradually turned serious as a sense of danger arose in his heart. His spy, Shangguan Ying, stood behind Lin Chun and didn't dare to act rashly. "What's going on? I left enough marks for them. Even if the blood fog of Blood Fox Mountain blocks their senses, it should be easy for them to find this place." The fifth prince's expression became more and more horrified. He discovered that the reinforcements and partners that he had originally set up were all missing. His message was like a stone sinking into the ocean. The Shangguan sisters involuntarily looked at the silver-robed figure behind them. He was calm and collected, and there was a cynical smile on his face. Shangguan Yin asked in surprise, "Could it be you?" She inexplicably recalled the white light that shot out when Lin Chun entered Blood Fox Mountain. The 4 true gods unconsciously froze in midair and did not engage in battle. Which of the true gods present wasn't a wily old fox? They were shrewd and calculative. If they didn't have any reinforcements in this battle, they would definitely have to pay a painful price if they fought this battle head-on. Cooperation was one thing, but they didn't plan to work for the Taichu Divine Kingdom. Lin Sun did not reply to Shangguan Yin. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and smiled mockingly at the fifth prince. "Go on. Continue calling for people. Don't stop." The fifth prince, who had been acting as if he was in control of the entire situation and the emperor of the theocracy, now had a ferocious look on his face. He glared at Chun Fan and scolded, "You brat, did you do this? What did you do?" He had prepared spatial coordinates for many divine sect teams in advance and found them by following the traces of his divine kingdom team. There was no problem at all in a short period of time, but now there wasn't even a response. Something had obviously happened. Lin Shin shrugged his shoulders and said in a relaxed manner, "Stop calling me Prince of the Divine Kingdom. Your people have been properly taken care of midway and placed properly. Those who can participate in the battle today are all of you." The fifth prince was moved. What was this guy's background? Did he have other forces protecting him? But the problem was, other than that crazy woman, who else could take down so many divine sect teams? It was impossible. The fifth prince cried out in shock. "How did you do it?" Lin Shin smiled playfully. "You're asking me how I did it? Because some people imitate my handsomeness and some imitate my appearance, but they can't imitate my show. This is the true reversal." Hearing that, his sister, Shangguanqi, stared at Lin Shun as if she had seen a ghost. She had seen Lin Shun with the team the entire time. How did he stop the fifth prince's reinforcements? Moreover, how did he predict so many divine sect teams, and which one was the fifth prince's reinforcements? Such a shocking feat that even gods couldn't predict or complete was actually done by a saint like him. He was simply a monster. Shangguan Yun's eyes became brighter and brighter, and a look of understanding appeared on her cold face. He hasn't made a move yet because he's stalling for time. This guy's playing a big game. I'm afraid he still has a backup plan. Shangguan Yun was getting more and more curious. How much more was he hiding? Almost as soon as Lin Shun finished speaking, kaboom! Bang! 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 The wind swept across the sky like a dragon, and the true god's expressions changed. This aura belonged to the crazy woman of the Yu family. Was this crazy woman going to attack them? Lin Shin raised his eyebrows, and his eyes lit up. He said excitedly, "Another one with a weapon." When the blood mist dissipated, a little girl in white stood beside a beautiful figure with a scabbard in her arms. Her blue dress fluttered like a sea of clouds, and a sword hung at her waist. She was beautiful, but the coldness in her eyes contained a murderous intent. She floated in the air and looked down. Her eyes shone with a terrifying sharpness that pierced through the void. She stared at Lin Shun and the Shangguan residence team and said word by word, "A month ago, you were the one who killed the Baolong King in the Baolong mountain range, right?" At this moment, the entire place was so silent that one could hear a pin drop. The fifth prince, Lin Xingyu, and the other true gods were dumbfounded, as if their common sense had been overturned. Even the Shangguan sisters, when they turned their heads slightly to look at Lin Shun, their pretty faces were filled with disbelief and shock. Was he the one who killed the famous Tyrannosaurus King? A three-dimensional human who had just arrived in the divine world, and he was a seventh-level sage? Shangguan Yun had thought that this guy was different from the rest, but she had never thought that he would be so outstanding. How King ridiculous was this? Even the few Azura kings with exceptional talents who had risen up in the god realm back then weren't able to reach such a level. It was beyond common knowledge for a sage to challenge a true god. A sage killing a divine dragon? A three-dimensional human killing a four-dimensional divine dragon? He had never dreamt of such a ridiculous thing, even in his wildest dreams. Challenging a true god and killing a true god were two completely different things. Lin Shan clicked his tongue in wonder. His eyesight is too strong. Indeed, the people in the divine world are not ordinary people. Clang! A dragon roar came out of the scabbard, and the lady in the blue dress released the godlike sword intent with her black sword. The wind and clouds changed, and countless rays of light were cut off. The blade was pointed at Lin Shun. "How dare you touch my prey? I'll take your life." Her oppressive aura was even stronger than Shangguan Yun's. The Shangguan sisters looked at Lin Shun at the same time. The elder sister, Shangguan Yun, said in a trembling voice, "You killed the Baolong King. Is this your peak?" A divine light flickered in his eyes. Lin Shin stared into Shangguan Yun's eyes and suddenly smiled. "You want to see my peak?" Chapter 1884. This kid killed King Rao Long? Although they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, it was hard to convince themselves. But from the fact that he was able to fight against a true god at the 7th level Sage Realm, it was possible. But there was still a chance. The true gods of the various divine sects squinted their eyes. Even if this kid's background was terrifying, Yu Tianwei of the Yu family was even more terrifying. She was a famous madwoman, a battle maniac. Among those in the same realm, there were few geniuses in the Northern Territory that could suppress her. If she targeted Lin Shun, then this battle could still be fought. This kid must have a shocking secret on him. We must investigate his background. Before he entered, he even had remnants of the repulsive reaction. This proves that this kid isn't from the divine world. The ancient sects of the divine world had an unwritten rule. When a younger generation of true gods fought, the powers behind them couldn't easily interfere. As long as the younger generation of true gods settled their own matters, even if it was a life-and-death battle or a scheme, the sect behind them couldn't interfere. This was an unwritten rule set by many ancient giants to ensure the birth of the younger generation of the divine world's younger generation. The younger generation would fight with their own abilities. The winner would be the king, and the loser would be the bandit. If the older generation experts interfered with the younger generation's matters, then things wouldn't be so simple. If this kid was from the divine world, then they couldn't easily send out the powerful existences of the divine sects. But if he didn't have any power behind him, then they could mobilize all the power of the divine sects to suppress this kid. Any ancient sect in the divine world had a terrifying background. If they were to target a single person, then it wasn't something a single person could contend against, especially when there wasn't just one true god with such thoughts. They weren't just eyeing the 5th prince's reward and the blood pool quota, but also Lin Chen's secret. What a joke. Just the 140 saint points were enough to shock the world. At most, they could just snatch him and sell him to the 9th Realm Sea. There were plenty of ruthless people who could dig out his secret and sell it for a sky-high price. Clang! Yu Tianwei drew his sword. With a flick of his sword, the sword's speed was extremely fast. Azure's sword Qi crisscrossed, condensed god power, and slashed down at Lin Shun. Shangguan Yun's figure flashed, and her hand pulled horizontally. A spiral-shaped divine barrier condensed and spun in the shape of a fan. It crushed apart side by side, repelled the sword light, and surged away. Bang! 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 Shangguan Yun took 5 steps back. Every step she took caused the ground to collapse and the air to surge. When she regained her footing, her expression was solemn. The gods are targeting him. This time, the Shangguan family can only give up on the Blood Fox Mountain blood pool. In this case, it's impossible to stay here. Shangguan Yin seemed to have seen through the intentions of all the true gods present, just as she was about to persuade Lin Shan to retreat. In a flicker, Lin Shan appeared in front of the 2 sisters, facing Yu Tianwei. Shang Guanqi hurriedly said, "Don't tell me you want to fight with her? This woman is a 2nd-level true god realm, and even has a divine artifact assisting in battle. It's impossible for you to have any chances of winning." Lin Shen's gaze turned and looked at the sword in Yu Tianwei's hand. Without a doubt, that black sword was a genuine divine artifact. There was a huge difference between a quasi-divine artifact and a divine artifact. A quasi-divine artifact was just a piece of equipment made by a blacksmith with a trace of divinity. There was a huge difference between a quasi-divine artifact and a divine artifact. The difference between a quasi-divine artifact and a divine artifact was even greater than that between a quasi-god and a true god. So what if it's a divine artifact? What I want is a divine artifact. Lin Shen grinned. He slowly raised his hand and snapped his fingers. Boom, boom, boom. A gust of wind swept across, and the sky was filled with clouds and blood-red light, appearing out of thin air. Phantom divine light stepped out of the blood-red clouds and shadows. At this moment, everyone's expression changed. 136. 6 Lin Chen's. Their aura, appearance, and saint power were exactly the same. Shangguan Qi's beautiful eyes trembled. This is a clone technique. Could it be that the fifth prince's people are gone like this? The timing is just right, Lin Chin said with a smile. The next stop for everyone present today is the road to the underworld. Boom! All the phantom doppelgangers burst out with earth-shattering power. The rolling saint power was like thousands of dragons covering the sky. Each doppelganger released the saint power of 140 saint points, suppressing eternity and comparable to a true god. Damn you, are you still human? There's still 6 saints with 140 saint points. There's such a thing? Which one is the real body? This is the first time I've seen such a strange clone technique in my life. The phantom doppelganger used its movement technique and stepped on the clouds. Its body soared into the heavenly light as it charged at the teams of the various divine sects. The combat power of each of Lin Chin's doppelgangers was around the middle of the first level of true god, but with the instant light split shadow talent, they could burst out the combat power of the first level of perfection. The situation of the battle changed drastically. Even the traitor of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Ying, joined the battle to protect the fifth prince. Lin Chin's 6 doppelgangers had the upper hand throughout the battle. When Shangguan Qi saw the sudden change in the battle, her beautiful eyes trembled. She said with a trembling voice, "Sister, what is that technique? Is there such a monstrous technique in the World Sea?" Shangguan Yin exclaimed, "No, it's unheard of in the World Sea. To be able to use 5 different types of power from one high-level technique, if it's used on top orange-grade techniques, or even laws, the power is unimaginable." The instant light split shadow talent was one of the few orange-grade talents that Lin Shan could still use after entering the divine realm. One technique was divided into 5 moves. When he used them, even the Shangguan sisters were shocked. Shangguan Yun seemed to see the unlimited potential in Lin Shan. She stared at Lin Shan and transmitted her voice. "Lin Shan, you mean?" Lin Shan raised his hand and made a throat-slitting action. He smiled innocently and said, "Kill them all." Shangguan Yun's red lips opened slightly. This Lin Shan was really daring. The forces and sects present were all famous figures. Without a backer, provoking all of them was equivalent to courting death. Lin Shan could guess the thoughts of these true divinities. Even if he let them go, he would still be targeted. Rather than waiting for others to find him, he might as well take the initiative and gain the upper hand. Shangguan Qi said worriedly, "Take down all 5 divine sex teams." "Isn't this too arrogant?" Lin Shan asked curiously. "Arrogant? Is this very arrogant?" Shangguan Qi said seriously, "You're too arrogant. Especially the Taichu Divine Kingdom and the Lin family. They have a strong foundation and many powerful true gods. If you kill them here, you will definitely attract the attention of the Divine Kingdom's divination masters and lock onto you. You won't be able to escape the pursuit of the Divine Kingdom." Lin Shan came to a realization and said, "Oh, I see. Then I'll be more arrogant. After killing them, I won't have to wait for the Divine Kingdom to find me. I'll go find them." Shangguan Qi, this Lin Shan, is his brain not working well? "Are you done talking?" A cold voice sounded. Yu Tianwei sneered. "Is that all you have?" It was true that Lin Chin's display of power was shocking. But to Yu Tianwei, he was still unable to escape from her palm. Her strength alone was enough to wipe out all the divine sex teams. Seeing this, Shangguan Yun wanted to go forward and fight side by side with Lin Shan, but he stopped Shangguan Yun and stepped into the air alone with a smile. "Don't worry. I won't be polite to women in any sense. I'll give you a surprise. Godslayer, come." Boom! The mountains and rivers changed colors, and the wind and clouds reversed. 9-colored holy light soared into the sky like an auspicious dragon. A golden talisman bloomed above his head, releasing the domineering aura of a true god. Yu Tianwei's expression suddenly changed. Everything since stepping into the divine realm is just a warm-up. Lin Shan's silver robe fluttered with the support of endless divine light, and he laughed with a domineering aura. "From now on, I'll go all the way." Chapter 1885. On Bloodfox Mountain, a group of quasi-gods was stripped clean. They were all beaten to the ground, covered in blood. They were in so much pain that they sucked in cold breaths and circulated their colorful saint power to heal their injuries. Damn it, what kind of saint is this? He blocked all of us alone and made it difficult for us to advance. What happened? Why are you all lying down? At that time, he rushed up with a bang. He was so fast. He shot me with an orange tier arrow technique. Damn it. Even if we don't help the Taichu Divine Kingdom today, we have to get back at them. How can a mere saint be so arrogant? The bright deity Sex, true God, was seething with anger. His divine power was like a hurricane sweeping through the world, dispersing the faint blood mist. His divine might was completely enraged. With a wave of his hand, he led his team to continue charging towards the higher parts of Bloodfox Mountain. Host has activated Orange Tier Active Talent, God Slayer. Consumed 180,000 Saint Tier Talent Points. Those who are hostile to the host, 12 True Gods, 75 Quasi-Gods, Reincarnation Sacred Stage. Overall increase in strength, 12,091 times, including Pure Strength, Essence Spirit, and Sacred Power Cultivation. Cooldown time, 7 days. Boom. The mountains and rivers change colors, and heaven and earth prostrated. In the entire Bloodfox Mountain, those who were hostile to Lin Shun had all turned into his strength. Endless battle intent soared into the sky with Lin Shun as the center, releasing the battle intent to suppress the gods. When the orange light disappeared, the surging red clouds swam like clouds and dragons. They instantly appeared from the golden talisman above his head and continuously enhanced Lin Chen's body. His pure strength soared all the way to 300 million supremacy power. The 9-colored aurora swirled around his saint points, and 159 hexagonal stars were released from Lin Chen's body. Late-stage Heaven Opening Realm. Lin Chen's enhancement this time allowed him to temporarily gain 19 saint points and break through to the late-stage Heaven Opening Realm, especially Lin Chen's Essence Spirit State. After breaking through to the perfected Essence Spirit Realm with the help of the God Slayer, he vaguely sensed a brand new world. His Essence Spirit could sense an azure path of starlight that led to the 3,000 great Daos and extended to the endless sky. It was as if there was a brand new world there. Divine Soul Realm, the Spiritual Realm, the Primal Divinity Realm, and the realm above the Primal Divinity Realm. Only a very small number of deities were able to enter the Divine Soul Realm. This is the state of the soul that one can see after attaining the perfected primordial soul stage. It's said that the strength of the divine soul can rival the great Tao laws. Even if you encounter a true God whose words follow the law, you can also contend as equals. When Lin Shen opened his eyes, the vault of heaven trembled. His aura swept out for 3,000 feet, and streams of explosive air currents split open like dragons. Shangguan Qi's eyes narrowed as she thought to herself, his saint power has suddenly soared by more than a few times. What a terrifying killing move. What kind of three-dimensional universe could give birth to such a monster? Lin Shen raised his hand and said indifferently, "Don't let them escape. Leave this woman to me." Shangguan Yin and Shangguan Qi looked at each other and retreated to the side. Yu Tianwei sneered, "Trying to mystify things, you don't know what you're talking about. The dragon core of the Tyrannosaurus King is extremely rare. Since you are so stubborn, I can sense its energy in your body. Then, I will dissect you and take it out of your body." She turned her slender hand, and the sword handle spun. She held the sword and swept it across the sky. Chi! Dang! 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 Countless spiraling sword lights swept over like sharp scissors and instantly covered all of Lin Shen's escape routes. Lin Shen raised his hand, and his saint power condensed into a spear. He stabbed continuously, and the tip of the spear shot out like a dragon. Thousands of thunderbolts exploded in the sky and pierced through the sword light storm. Divine waves, Yu Tianwei took a step forward, and a sea of blue waves swept out under her feet. When the huge waves rolled, her figure disappeared like a ghost. Cloud, shadow, heavenly light. Lin Chen's figure slanted, and his body turned into countless blood shadows and dispersed. The little girl in white holding the scabbard said in surprise, "This brat can actually keep up with senior sister's divine waves movement technique." In the afterimage of the azure brilliance overflowing from it, it fought with the blood-red cloud shadow. Lin Shun held the spear in his hand and continuously stabbed, swept, and smashed. His attacks became more and more violent, and he was not afraid of his opponent at all. Bang! 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 Countless lightning bolts and thunderbolts swam like giant pythons. The sword marks shattered and were annihilated. It was as if everything had fallen and scattered with a blow. The sky full of sword lights fell. In the curved world, the two of them were facing each other with equal harshness. Yu Tianwei stared at him. Body refinement, strength comparable to the late stage of the first tier of the divine realm, and saint power equivalent to the second tier of the divine realm. And his reaction speed, he can actually keep up with me, a perfected essence soul cultivator. Lin Chen's spear technique was tricky. After shaking off his opponent's divine sword, he laughed mockingly and said, "You're not the only perfected essence soul cultivator. Why are you shouting so arrogantly? Are you a sore loser?" "Shut up," Yu Tianwei shouted coldly, and the tip of her sword turned. Clang! The sound of the sword rang out, and Yu Tianwei's sword aura became stronger. She, who was arrogant, found it hard to accept. How could he be on par with a saint? What a joke. Lin Xingyu looked as if he had seen a ghost. He looked at the battle circle where Lin Chen's main body was in shock. Damn it, what kind of monster is that? He was already having a hard time dealing with his opponent's doppelganger. Yet his opponent's main body was actually able to surpass him. A saint challenging a second tier of the divine realm? This was too King ridiculous. The most demonic thing was that this guy seemed to be a three-dimensional human, right? Even Lin Xingyu had never heard of such a ridiculous cross-level challenge in the Star Continent. This actually happened to a three-dimensional human? The fifth prince of the Taichu Divine Kingdom was even more stunned. The Divine Kingdom's ancestor challenged a first-tier true god with his peerless talent back then. He was already known as an unprecedented genius in the history of the Divine Kingdom. The fifth prince, who was fighting with the clone, said with a trembling voice, "This guy's cultivation isn't even a sage king, but he can challenge a second-tier divine realm expert? Is there still law? Is there still justice?" The 9 levels of the heaven-opening realm of the saints were directly proportional to the saint power obtained by opening the saint acupoint after accumulating the foundation of their cultivation. The saint's own tempering and accumulation would increase the saint power obtained by helping the saint break through to the heaven-opening realm. During the battle at the sacred boundary, Lin Shun had yet to reach the perfected star-receiving realm. At that time, he had temporarily broken through as a god slayer, and a heaven-opening realm saint acupoint could only increase his saint power by 6 million venerables. Now, with Lin Chen's foundation, he had temporarily stepped into the late stage of the heaven-opening realm, and a saint acupoint could increase his saint power by 120 million venerables. The total foundation of the Saint Heart Realm Saint Acupoints doubled without the enhancement of the cultivation method, and with 9 heaven-opening realm Saint Acupoints, the current Lin Shun could unleash more than 6 billion venerables with just his saint power alone. This kind of combat power surpassed an ordinary early-stage second-tier divine realm expert. Chi! Clang! Yu Tianwei's sword slashed down violently, and Lin Chen's battle spear formed by saint power instantly broke. Lin Chen's palm was bleeding. When he dodged the attack, he retreated step by step. After a while, he was at a disadvantage. Even with the instant light split shadow talent, Lin Chen still couldn't win. Yu Tianwei was not an ordinary second-tier divine realm expert. Lin Chen narrowed his eyes and stared at her black sword. It's really a divine artifact. A true god with a divine artifact and a true god without a divine artifact are two completely different concepts. This woman is even stronger than the sword god I killed back then. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.